It's time. We got a lot of cool news the last couple weeks since we've done this, and
Yeah.
some really odd
Happy New Year,
choices.
everyone. So,
Oh
I think
yeah,
this our
yeah,
I think this might be
this
our first gaming podcast of the year. So,
yeah first piece of content recorded of the new year actually.
yep. And Vex, like when we were gonna do this, I was planning on doing one of these, of course, like once we were back.
hmm
And I thought it's like, oh, you know what? It could be nice to just talk about like how the Game Awards went and like how our predictions panned out and stuff like that. Because we did watch. Some of us watched that live on in the server while that was happening. So I thought that would be a fun way to transition into the year. But instead, so much happened in between then and now that it's probably the last thing we're going to even talk about. But it might come up.
it might come up naturally, but I'm not too pressed on any of that right now. What
Yeah, because
is
honestly, like the Game Awards was like it was fun to react with everyone on the team, but it was also just like not that interesting looking back.
hmm there's one weird one though. I think we should just start with the dumb choice that Microsoft made because like it's the one freshest on my mind. I was sitting in the back of the Uber coming home, um, because I actually had a 4 day weekend for a change, which was really nice. And they've been striking like any of the like nudie scenes from Baldur's Gate as like community guidelines and banning people, right? Um, that was like my initial knowledge of it. And now they put out like a really weird tweet of like they essentially like have access to whatever the hell you capture, which is odd but not surprising. But why allow an 18 plus or like a mature game to auto capture in the first place was what I was digging at, right? Because it's like
I
they're
mean, yeah, because it's an approved title for Microsoft
right.
on their platform, and also their service, the recording. Like it shouldn't be auto recording slash uploading whatever it's doing.
Mhm.
Because it's like if I'm just playing a game, I don't want whatever I'm doing in game to necessarily be like up to certain guidelines of play.
Yeah, like I was
'Cause it's
initially
not
weird.
like people are if people are streaming like through like a Microsoft streaming service or something, then
Yeah.
that's one thing, right? But like you said, this is just Microsoft saying it's like you're playing this mature game on our mature platform and think you can just record your own
You
footage.
can record your character getting smashed by Karlak. How dare you? No, but like the thing is like I don't have a really big issue with like auto recording if it's like, oh, you just got an achievement, here's a screenshot. Cool. That's great. Whatever. You can share that with your friends on there. That's a neat little feature. I loved it while I was doing like my 52 game challenges back when I had a lot more time than I do now. Like, hey, I beat the game. Here, I can just auto share this, whatever. But like when it's like content filtering on an approved game on your service, it's just like a whole other level of like I wouldn't say Orwellian, but it's just bordering on like that censorship that I hate so much
And on
because
top of that, people are getting like strikes on their accounts. So like if you lose your account for just playing a game, like not even
exactly.
like violating like you're not breaking any laws or regulations. You're just playing a game and the
Yeah,
software slash hardware is doing all the bad stuff.
yeah, like it's one thing if you like I grew up in the times where like you could not go into a Call of Duty lobby without hearing the N word 37 times, or you're
Yeah, that was our childhood. I
or
was not a huge FPS guy, but all my friends played, and so yeah, I know the
yeah,
stories.
yeah, or like straight up seeing like the most scuffed emblems in Black Ops. Like people like, oh, I miss the good old days of COD where there wasn't like a voice filter. I'm like, you grew up in the era where you heard how much of a hoe your mom allegedly was. And come on, we don't need to go back to that. Cool. But when you're like if you say anything like remotely offensive now in like Call of Duty lobby or even suggestive, they have like an AI that like voice filters you, which was weird to me. Because I was playing Warzone with a buddy recently. I don't really touch Call of Duty often, and he made a joke, like a joke about how stupid the map was, and they instant banned him for like 5 days. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? It was
Yeah,
it was
that's just not okay.
yeah, I'm like, the joke was off color, but it wasn't like racist or sexist or anything like that. It was just like, we don't like the language you used in our game that is rated M for mature. So here's a 5-day ban.
It's also just kind of creepy. Like,
Right.
okay, like the video recording itself, like at least that's like footage of you playing a game, but
Mhm.
just like you're just saying conversations being monitored by AI. Like,
Exactly.
imagine if just like, because it's like the way we use Discord, for example, it's to just casually talk with people. Like, I have talked to friends who I just don't see as often because we're all adults now and life is not easy enough for us to see each other despite all the attempts we make. So
Right.
it's if we had so at one point, Xbox and like gaming chats were basically that. It's just talking with friends after school without, when cell phones were less advanced and
You had to pay by the
people were
minute.
not able to use, yeah, and all that. So it was just like a way for people to talk. And so now that is not going to be possible if just every conversation is just monitored by a third entity
Yeah.
just to make sure it's like you might say something that will hurt someone.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
the funny reason I brought that up is because if you look back at like a couple episodes ago where we talked about like all the stuff that came out of the Activision Blizzard Microsoft trial, right?
Yeah, that
They
was a
were
lot. It's a
they
good
were
day.
integrating like this AI. I wonder if it's the same AI that they use in Warzone, right? Because if it is, like, you won't be able to like have any sort of like conversation without it being filtered like that, and that could lead to you having the same repercussions as like the nudie scenes in Baldur's Gate, or hell, like the new Mass Effect could have that same effect at this point, right? Because we know that romance is a big thing in that. So it's just a
That's a good
really
point.
slippery slope for Microsoft, who had like the best fucking year last year. Like, if anybody got the biggest W, it was them, because they got to acquire Activision. They got like a great lineup. They had so much success with a bunch of games, but at the same time, like, we're 8 days into the new year and we're having this now. So I'm
Yeah,
just,
and it's not great. It's not a good start, but
no.
I mean, it's a lot of people did have good years. Last year was a very great year of gaming, and again, had had not a lot of crazy stuff happened, it would have just been nice to reflect on that. But we're not going to do that. We have too much to talk about.
Oh yeah.
But with what you're saying with Microsoft, though, that I was originally going to talk about, some other Microsoft topics I had, but then you also mentioned some of the Microsoft leaks that happened, which we could also talk about leaks. So I'm debating which way to go right now.
Um.
I think I'll stick with Microsoft for now because the one thing that I saw today, and I guess it's been kind of floating around for a bit,
Mhm.
is the this rumor that some Microsoft IPs are coming to other platforms. Allegedly, and of course, it's all like rumor stuff, but it's been around enough that if it's one of those rumors I'm like leaning into being true,
Right.
especially considering what it is, which is that games like Hi-Fi Rush and what was the other one? So one other title that I'm blanking on are like going to be available on like PlayStation
I saw Hi-Fi
and
Rush. I haven't seen anything
Switch.
else. Um.
I think there was another title, but I can't remember what it is. But it's some other title that Microsoft owns. But either way, it's like the kind of title you could imagine on other platforms.
Oh, for
I'm gonna
sure.
look it up because I know I saw it.
Um.
Uh,
I'm not
okay.
opposed to that. It's an odd choice though, right? Because these were like supposed to be their big exclusives. So it comes back down to the like. I hate diving into the side of
Oh,
gaming.
okay. Yeah, I got it. Yeah. So Okay, so well, now I'm seeing even more titles, but Hi-Fi Rush probably the most likely one. But yeah, Sea of Thieves was the other one, like the Rareware title that's coming out. Um,
Sea of
and
Thieves
like
is
there's some
already
other
on
titles like
PC.
As Dusk Falls, and maybe Starfield might be coming to PlayStation. That would be something. But yeah, at the very least, I think
I think
Hi-Fi Rush is definitely
Starfield
there.
was originally built to be like timed exclusive, so that one would make sense. But I could be wrong. Feel free to
Oh yeah,
correct me
actually,
there.
that could be because it was like very early in development.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to say for some of these titles because like Elder Scroll Six at one point was like multi-platform, but then they're like, yeah, we're owned by Microsoft now.
Yeah, like
So
The Indiana Jones game from Machine Games is gonna be like exclusive as well. Which is odd considering the property is attached to it. I could see like a Fallout or a Elder Scrolls being exclusive, but that one was just a choice in general. Um, the same with Redfall.
well,
I think that's actually Microsoft exclusive, which they can keep that cancer of a game.
yeah, that was a very unfortunate dev situation, but it happens, and hopefully it doesn't happen again. Because I know we just said that like last year was good for Microsoft, but they had some of their own issues. Because like even with Starfield, like when it came out, like I heard so many good things, but like more and more I'm hearing some more negative things. But that's not just Starfield. I'm also hearing the same thing with Tears of the Kingdom recently because I was watching some like Nintendo in review videos, and people are
Yeah.
like, you know what, Tears of the Kingdom kind of overhyped.
I mean,
So
it was, but I have my own take on that, and I miss traditional Zelda. I don't like the open
yeah,
world
that's
like
a
that.
big thing I'm hearing, and I think that's a fair argument because like even with like one thing I like because as a Sonic fan, I have to make everything about Sonic. When we have like new titles come out, just change everything. We always like, why can't you just do what you did before? But right now, there we have like multiple different kinds of titles going on. So we have like classic while going with the 3D, and hopefully some of the other formulas they abandoned will come forward. But
Yeah,
that's like a whole topic in of itself. So
yeah,
I'll save that for another rainy day.
like my
What I
favorites.
do want to say with Microsoft
Yeah,
is like when Sony was starting to release their IPs onto Steam and PC, I was very happy to like know that it's like okay, I can access these games without need to buy like several $100s more into another device,
hmm
which is nice. And I think the fact that Microsoft is doing that, I think makes even more sense because they've always been a little bit more open platform. Now, obviously, Sony's not gonna let Game Pass come on to their service. Same thing
right.
with Nintendo, but individual titles, I think like Hi-Fi Rush and Sea of Thieves, just like the way they have Minecraft on other platforms, I think it just makes sense for them to do that.
Oh
People are
yeah.
worried about like the console not having as much exclusives, but I'm like, at this point, the exclusives don't really matter. I
No,
feel
they
like more
haven't
and
for
more that's
like
going to
a
matter less and less.
yeah. The exclusives haven't mattered for like a generation and a half at this point. It's such a stupid argument. Like I love the fact that I don't have to buy another $500 console in the Xbox Series, right? Because I have a gaming PC and I have a PS5, and I have a Switch. It literally is sitting on my mini fridge. I haven't touched it since I ported over all of my Pokemon from Pokemon Bank. That's how little I touch my Switch. Um,
That's fair. And I mean, Nintendo's another topic to maybe talk about, but
oh
just
yeah,
because I've been seeing a lot of Nintendo.
but like,
But with Sony, I think they're going to be doing more and more PC oriented stuff, and so I think Microsoft putting more of their titles onto PlayStation is just going to be good for them. And I feel like the benefit to owning an Xbox is ultimately just going to be the convenience of having an
yeah,
Xbox.
you don't want to have a $7,000 gaming computer in your studio. Just don't build one. Get an Xbox Series X. Cool. There you go. Like
Yeah.
it,
And if
it
anything, that'll just make Xbox just like the more economical gaming choice. And I think that's a valid way forward, in
yeah.
my opinion.
Yeah, like there's a few of those games on Steam. Like Sea of Thieves has been on Steam for a while. A Master Chief Collection, Halo Infinite, stuff like that has been on there for a while. So I think that was their test pilot for like multi-platform before they did Game Pass Ultimate, right? Um, because they
That's a fair point.
but like, and Starfield's obviously on there. I own Redfall on there, which was a choice on my part. Um, but like there's a lot of value to having this multi-platform um as well, because like there's titles that are like those hidden gems, right? Like Hi-Fi Rush we can consider like last year's hidden gem that a lot of people want to play, but they don't want to have another box sitting in their living room, or whatever. And I love the idea of having something that is stylized as that, say, on the Nintendo Switch, because it's the perfect game for that. Whereas, and Sea of Thieves could run on a fucking potato. Like, it doesn't really have a lot of graphical intensity, so that would make sense to be like multi-platform. And like Hi-Fi Rush with like the cell shaded art, stuff like that, it would work well. I don't see Starfield hitting the Nintendo Switch at all.
Yeah, me neither. Like maybe Nintendo's next platform, which is a possible topic we can talk about, but it's all speculation
Yeah,
right now.
I was hearing rumors of it being on par with the PS4, and I'm like, yep, that sounds like fucking Nintendo.
It really does. And the weird thing is when I thought that, I'm like, you know what? At the minimum, it should be a PS4, because it's like if it doesn't, like there are the outdated phones some people have are going to be more powerful than Nintendo's next system.
Hey, I think I can run this game on my Galaxy S10 that's sitting in my closet. Thanks, guys.
You probably can. You can run. I'm pretty sure anything Nintendo's going to release is something. Well, that's just like a whole other thing. And it really wouldn't be a problem, honestly, because Nintendo has had handheld devices before, but people are trying to port console games onto your device. And worse, now we're reaching the point where Nintendo's own games are like, yeah, this is barely running on the one device it needs to run on.
Yeah, no kidding.
It's not okay.
Like, you're using a bordering on 15-year-old processor. You need to put something else out, guys. As much as I
like the people at Monolith Soft are like freaking geniuses for being able to make open like giant RPGs on that system.
No kidding.
I don't even know how they did that.
Like it's scary how talented Monolith Soft is. Like it, I don't praise Nintendo developers enough when they have to work within the limitations of that absurd company, but they're fucking geniuses. As much as I don't like talking about problematic games, like Hogwarts Legacy being able to run at all on there is a marvel. Like even if
Oh yeah, it really is.
like even if it is cut down to like loading screens and it's not really a true open world title anymore, the fact that they were able to get it running on there is a miracle. Like I was shocked when fucking Witcher 3 played on it. Like it didn't play well.
Oh yeah, me too. It didn't.
But like I played through the vast majority of that story at work with my Switch. Like that was fun to do. Like so it had been on my backlog for ages. And it came out like right around when the TV show came out. I was listening to the audiobooks while playing the game, and it was just like a unique experience. But that like it was just insane what they were able to do with that. And I know damn well we won't get Cyberpunk on there because it can't run on like past gen consoles anymore. So like there's no way in hell they're going to try to port like Phantom Liberty expansion onto the Switch. So maybe the Switch 2, which like if it's running at the PS4, I'm hoping it's like at least a PS4 Pro level of things, right? Because
I mean, I have to be honest, we're starting to be a little too optimistic there. But you're right. At the very minimum, you would think, okay, let's get a device that can run at least at the power of something that released in like what 20? What was it?
2017, 2018. Like
At the same time as the actual Switch. Ah, man, that just stings. But because I was gonna say 2020, but then I'm like, nah, that was PS5.
yeah,
We're a couple
no.
years into that.
Yeah, that's
So-
scary. That's the scary part of this, right? Because you're like Nintendo is
The
always
current
like,
gen is already like are likely going to mid-gen refresh. I'm seeing a lot of like PS5 Pro like possibilities here.
I
And like Xbox is like, their stuff got leaked. So we know that they have stuff in the works.
Yeah, which is the sad part of that, right? Because like I miss when I didn't know everything 3 to 5 years before it fucking happened.
Well, to be fair, this time it was an accident.
Yeah, no, I realize it, but like we're getting like so much news drip fed to us on an absurd level right now with like between that leak where like the court fucked up or somebody on like Microsoft's ends uploaded like the unprotected document, whoever is actually
Yeah,
involved.
I think that's what ultimately happened. Like, it wasn't properly censored, so whoever was in charge of like making sure that was all done. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, people
I
got fired for sure.
Oh, absolutely. They're never working in whatever industry again. Um Poor intern, right? It's like
Yeah,
that's likely what happens. Some intern's like, I don't know how to protect this. The court will surely do its job. No, you're the one that has to upload it. But like, there's something to be said about like the amount of leaks because like Ubisoft is like constantly getting like leaked, and that's just like a meme at this point. Um, and then like so much of this like potential news for the Nintendo Switch 2 is just like crazy. Um, so like PS4 level, I saw a couple other documents floating around TikTok, but like that platform of itself, like I don't really trust like a reliable source of information, obviously. Um,
yeah.
but like
I mean, government conspiracies about China aside, it's still TikTok.
it was still some Zoomer who's like the epitome of like my uncle works at Nintendo, so here's everything kind of vibe to me.
Some things just don't change.
Yeah.
uh, but let's see. I guess there was something else I wanted to bring up. Oh yeah, with Microsoft, I think just quickly I want to say I'm not sure if this was confirmed, but I've been hearing, and I'm pretty sure this is going to happen. There's like an Xbox Dev Direct kind of thing next week, and I think that's like a smart idea. I think because right now with like Microsoft, they own a lot of studios. And the big thing people know is that they own a bunch of studios, but the first party has been kind of only just getting started.
Mhm.
So I think starting off the year by saying, hey, this is everything we have in development, and here's when things are coming out and what we have planned. I think that's a good idea to just get that right at the beginning of the year,
Oh yeah.
especially after they messed up today.
Yeah, like Fable, you'll get it in 2027, knowing my luck. That's the one first party game I want to play badly. Is fucking Fable because I grew up with those games. I love them. I know. Hopefully, without Peter Molyneux's fucking, you know, overhyping everything, it'll be a great game. Like, there's a great team behind it. They can do wonderful things with like the environment because we've seen like Forza. Like, I don't like racing sims, but like the environment of a Forza game is immaculate. So that in a fantasy world, love it. And then like we know like rumored release dates for some things from like the Bethesda side of things from where they were acquired. Like it's kind of cool, but like I know almost all of that shit got pushed back because of COVID. So seeing any of those projects from Bethesda will be kind of cool. Like the rumored Doom threequel, would love to see that. Um, a rumored Dishonored, that would be awesome to see. Even after Redfall was
Yeah.
a stinker.
It's been a while since the Dishonored IP was around. Like, it was really big when it first came out, but I think it started to peter a bit, like when the second game. Like,
Yeah,
I still thought it was pretty good, but it wasn't as hype. So if they make another Dishonored, I'm hoping it can kind of
yeah.
recover that. Because I'm not a huge stealth game guy, but I really liked what they did with that
Oh yeah.
series.
That was like one of the like super fun mid-gen games for me. They had a third one that was kind of like the standalone story of the Outsider, which was really cool as well. Not as good, and I think that's kind of what kind of killed it off for a while. Same with like Wolfenstein, right? Because they had two titles that came out right around the same time with Cyber Pilot and I forget the other one. But it was about PJ's twins, and they were rescuing him. It was a live service ish game. kind of like looter shooter style, and it was complete trash. Unfortunately, it was just really bad. Um, and then having one locked behind the PSVR wasn't a smart idea when like nobody wanted the PSVR with the
Yeah,
Cyberpilot
I
thing.
mean, I don't. Sony, Sony's probably leading a lot with like. I mean, I guess you could say Nintendo is with their crazy sales, but that's kind of a weird situation with the hybrid
Right.
handheld. But the primary console is likely Sony, which I think kind of leads them to make really stupid decisions for like everything else they're working with. Because
Oh,
I don't know
totally.
why with the PSVR 2, they were like, okay, let's just not have any of the games from our last VR work with this. And I'm like, but why? Why would you just like hurt everybody who invested into your VR ecosystem?
Me.
And yeah, it
I I
is because
I
those headsets are pretty expensive. It's
I
not like, oh, you get like a PSVR for like as a $50 add-on,
oh, fuck
like a
no.
whole
Like
thing.
even secondhand, because I bought mine used. It was like $200, and
Yeah, that's like half a console.
yeah, and I'm like, the amount of wires on that thing was ridiculous. Um, Trying to capture footage on that was fucking impossible. Um, because I tried to capture like the Arkham VR game, did not work natively with the Elgato when it first came out. Which was like my primary capture card. So I'm like, well, fuck, I give up. I know somebody was able to capture it. I don't know how they did it. I'm not going to try to
Yeah,
replicate
I've
that.
seen people like do it, and it's kind of funny watching people play VR games. Because usually with Let's Plays and stuff, you're watching the game and the person, but like watching people like do VR is just hilarious. Almost
I
too hilarious to focus on the game.
I watched somebody on TikTok play through the Horizon VR game, and the dude was just vibing so much he tripped over his chair and ate shit and busted his headset. I felt so bad for him.
Yeah, because those are not cheap, as we said, and they're definitely not safe. Apparently, oh man. But yeah, I mean, I think the last couple of years have been pretty big for VR. So and I was actually impressed that Sony got on the ground running with that. But I don't know what they're doing with their VR
I mean,
service right now.
I don't even think they've announced a new game for the PSVR 2 since Horizon, which is funny to me. It's like, here is a $600 add-on for your $600 console. We have nothing in the pipeline for it. Have fun. The fuck are you guys on about? I know they kind of accidentally announced like a security breach. I think that's the VR title for Five Nights at
Yep.
Freddy's. So I figured that will come to it.
Well, I think Help Wanted is the VR
The
title. Security Breach was the last like main line, but it's fine.
Yeah, it was one of them. Like Kellen Goff was talking about it. Who's done some of the voicing in it.
Yeah, I mean, like Steelwool did a good job with their VR games. Like Security Breach, that was a little very buggy, but it was still pretty fun for what it was. But you're right; it is weird that Sony like they're like pushing VR, but also like not succeeding very well at it. Very
Yeah,
weird.
it's
Because
hit
I
or
always
miss.
wondered if the other, because it's hard to see Nintendo do it because they're always like 5 steps behind everybody else and just do their own weird thing in the corner, which sometimes pays off. A lot of times
Like,
doesn't.
here is a cardboard box. We're releasing it on 420. Have fun with that meme. With
Yeah,
the lab
that
on
was
it.
a thing.
I bought it. I also lost it moving. It was fun. It also was the stupidest thing I ever did. Um,
Yeah, but you really don't hear people talking about it, despite the fact that I've heard nothing but good things about it.
I mean, it was fun to meme around and play the Black Parade on a cardboard piano, but what the fuck else are you going to do with it? And they've also not made any expansions for it since then, so I guess they kind of
Also
gave
true.
up on it. Um,
Yeah, I mean, I don't really blame them. It was a weird idea. yeah, the
Also,
point is like I don't see Nintendo really doing it. And Microsoft has shown off some AR tech, but they really haven't been integrating it. So
yeah.
I figured Sony would have like a good corner in this market of VR, like as it grew, just like on their consoles, but they are kind of messing it up.
I mean, well, we all if all else fails, we have the Apple Pro like VR AR thing that got a release date finally, for like
I mean,
$1,500
yeah,
fucking
there's that.
dollars.
But I mean, if we're going to talk about Apple and their place in the gaming space, I guess that'll transition us to another topic. Um,
The
and that
per
is that Platinum Games had. Wait, do you have the name of the title? Because
let
I don't
me
remember the name.
pull it back up. I was on it for just like 2 seconds ago.
Okay.
It
Well,
is
Lex Bullet.
called World of Demons. And it
Yeah, that's
delisted
it.
10 days.
So for those who've seen our previous videos, you know that we've talked about Apple Arcade before, mostly because I want to talk about Sonic Dream Team. And it's a service on Apple where they basically are like, hey, here's a place where you can pay like a small monthly fee and you just get like some pretty quality mobile games. And I thought, hey, that's a pretty good idea because there's no in-app transactions and these are like pretty good games. They aren't like random garbage games. They have a good amount of funding put into them too. And this was one of them. This was like one of their first ones actually. Because I played it when I first got Apple Arcade, and it was like a platinum game on your phone. That's basically what it was. So it was fun, in other words. But then today we found out that it's getting delisted, like in a couple weeks, I think.
10 days, which
And
is
well,
wild.
10 days. I think you can still like you can't download it, but like in February you can't even play it anymore. That's one of the weird things with like apps sometimes. If it's even if it's delisted, if you save it on your device and you also like don't change your device because I've done that. Because like once I used to have like Shin Megami Tensei, the original Shin Megami Tensei, like a mobile port of it that Atlas put out, but it didn't work on newer devices, so I had to keep it on like one of my older devices while I still had it working, just to play it because it's not on the App Store anymore, but it was on my device. But with Apple Arcade games, Apple can just be like, no, this game doesn't exist anymore. The contract is up. And the reason that's concerning is because one of the big things with Apple Arcade, despite the positive things I've mentioned before, is that it kind of hurts its own preservation because it's a service where Apple has paid for these games to be exclusive to their service. But then they also will remove games from the service. This happened to Choo Choo Rocket. It got revived on Apple Arcade via Sega, and it was also pretty fun. But after like a couple years were up, they decided, okay, let's remove this. And then Sega has never put it on anything else, which might be because they can't, because Apple's, won't let them because they paid for it. But then also Apple isn't going to have it on their own service. So it's just gone until I guess Apple changes their minds or something, or there's some other breach in the contract that lets people port it. And the reason I'm wondering how Platinum will handle it, because they didn't say anything, and probably they can't, is because if they do, like, push this World of Demons game onto like Steam or the Switch or the Switch 2 or whatever else, and we see it again, then that proves that, these Apple Arcade titles, even if they leave Apple, they can go on to other devices and they can live on. But if they can't, and we never see these games for years on end, then that kind of just says that all these games we see on Apple's service will just eventually disappear forever, which I just don't understand. Because even with streaming services, like they'll lose licenses to shows, but for shows that they own, that they paid for, they just kind of stay on the service. Because as far as I know, I don't think there's any like Netflix series that was like Netflix exclusive that they were like, okay, well, we're never going to have this on the platform anymore.
Turbo, the animated show based on the movie. There was a couple others that they kind of just like deleted. I think they did end up eventually on Tubi. Somebody can correct us there. But it's weird, right? Because you brought up a really good point. Like, we used to live in an era where this stuff was like device locked if it gets delisted, right? There were people for the longest time that would sell their PS4 that had the PT demo on it. Um,
Oh yeah, yeah, I remember
or
that.
their old iPhone that had shit like Flappy Bird or the old Angry Birds versions. They would sell them on eBay. Like, hey, I got this. Here, you can buy it for like $1,000. And people would fucking do that. I actually had a PS4 for the longest time that had the PT demo on it, and then when the hard drive died, it was gone, right? Which sucked because I loved that demo. So I was looking to buy like a PS4 that had that demo on it, and that's how I learned that there was a market for this. This was before like there were articles or anything, talking about it. I'm like, you gotta be fucking kidding me! This person's wanting $1,000 for a 500 gig hard drive, essentially. That I'm just gonna throw in my old PS4. Like, fuck off! Like, it's not worth that. Um, like, as much as I would love a world where that version of Silent Hill came out, I'm not paying $1,000 for a hard drive.
Yeah, no, that would have just been. You would have never financially recovered from that.
I mean, I could have, but like, it's stupid. And there are people that willingly buy this stuff. Like, there are iPhone 5Cs out there going for like $4,000 that had all of those old Apple Store games on them. I'm like, you guys are fucking stupid, but I get it. I get the need to preserve media like that, and that's the thing that comes up here is like, what is the fate of this? Because we know that the one Fantasian or whatever made by the OG Final Fantasy director, that's going to hit
But yeah, Mist Walker.
Mistwalker thing. That'll hit all of the, or at least something, right? There was talks of a PC port with World
Yeah, there
Games.
there was like a Steam page in like the works that people saw, but of course it hasn't gone up yet. But it seems like it will, and I'm still waiting for that to happen because again, once that we see something like that happen, then we know that okay, even these titles that Apple has paid for,
Mm-hmm.
people can retain the rights to put it on other platforms. Like again, using like Choo Choo Rocket for example, like maybe the reason Sega hasn't posted it isn't because Apple said no, you can't do it, but because Sega's like, okay, who's gonna pay for Choo Choo Rocket in like the current day and era? And some people would, so I think they should put it
Yeah.
up. But that's
It'd be
not
like
really.
bringing back Ristar of all things, right? Like, there's a audience there. It's just, what is the audience and how much is the price for it, right? You gotta
Yeah,
dive.
and Sega is reviving some of their IP, so maybe we can still see something like that come out.
Yeah.
But the point is, with Fantasian, I am hoping that that game specifically comes out because it's like a really good RPG that I think more people would try if it wasn't locked to Apple.
Yeah.
And also, I am as naive as it sounds, because it's Apple and it's any corporation, I would like to think that they wouldn't just be like weirdly petty, where they're like, we don't want you to put our stuff on other devices, but also don't want to put this on our own devices. Because, like, what do they gain from that? I don't understand. Because, like you said, all it does, I mean, it doesn't even give it like a market anymore. You can't even like have people sell off devices
Yeah.
with these games on it. So it's
It's
basically just nothing. It's really just being petty.
Yeah, it's lost media at that point, and then somebody has to go through and try and find a way to get the source code for it or dig it out of whatever's hard coded on their device and throw it.
Yeah, but the thing is, as far as I know, and I'm not a huge tech guy in that realm, but it's harder to do, to my understanding, on Apple devices compared to like Android. Because like with Android, for example, like I don't have any Android devices, but I do have like BlueStacks, and I run some APKs just to have some apps
Yep.
run through my computer,
Yeah, like,
and it's really nice. But as far as I know, you can't do the same with Apple. But it might still be possible, like except you probably need to do it through someone's MacBook rather than like their iPhone.
there are
Eh,
ways. It is a lot more difficult, I will say, and I'm not going to explain how I know that.
that's fine. You don't need to incriminate yourself. But
uh, But like the way Apple builds an app, and this is coming from somebody that's taken a lot of IT classes because their bachelor's degree is in cybersecurity, it is a lot more secure in how their infrastructure is made, right? Versus like an APK, which is able to be ported to whatever Android device you have. Obviously, when you're working natively in one space with like Apple, like that's all it's meant to run on. Even though there are emulators for Apple products, or there were back in the day, I don't know if they still are because I don't really utilize Apple products anymore. Um,
Yeah, the emulators, I've tried looking into it. Nothing super great.
yeah, I remember like I used to, because how we would make these programs in the classes I took is like we had to have like I just bought like a cheap burner phone, right? And then I jailbroke it. The Android phone because I'm like I don't give two shits about this straight talk wireless phone I bought at Walmart, right? And then we would make like basic programs for that. And then I had an old iPhone 4S I threw Cydia on in college, and then that was like people who know what Cydia is know what I mean. Um, but yeah, it was a lot more difficult back then to even jailbreak an iPhone than it was like, well, here you go, 2 seconds with a fucking Android device, right? So like
Yeah,
even
you had to watch like a lot of videos to figure out how to jailbreak those devices.
yeah, it
But
was
I mean, it was doable because like we did it as kids.
yeah, like it and like having to not pay for Pandora was wonderful. Uh, 'cause that's what I used to
Yeah,
use before I used Spotify.
I still
Now
use Pandora.
now that I am a working adult, I pay for my music. It's nice to be able to do that. Like the one I will always have is like I need Spotify Premium. Like I will not listen to more than one ad in a row on anything ever anymore. um,
I mean, that's understandable
with Bet
because once you
MGM
get used to it, it's just like, well, you got me. I can no longer live without your service.
or here at
I mean, it's
FanDuel
basically like with streaming. Like when you go back to like watching TV with commercials, you're like, what is this?
oh god, yeah, it's absurd. Um, it's absurd. Like I because I have Google Podcasts till it shuts down in like 2 months, right? I ported everything over to YouTube Music because it's like one button. But the ads that I get on like 95% of my podcasts are with FanDuel Casino, you can do the double parlay or whatever. I'm like, I don't give two shits about this. Let me skip. Like, I don't want to listen to you. Just let me go back to listening to people bitch about like a serial killer because that's the kind of white person I am. Is I like true crime.
Yeah.
I,
I mean, it's a thing. I mean, I think a lot of people say that it's like, oh, this is just so I can be ready in case something like this happened to me. And I'm like, okay, first of all, if something like this happened to you, you're not going to just remember. It's like, what did they say in this one podcast?
yeah,
It's like
no.
when I joke about, like, okay, I love Dr. Stone so much that if the world just went to shit, I'd be just ready to restart everything.
First
It's
of
like,
all,
no, I
that's
won't.
fiction.
I have like I have degrees in science, and I'm still gonna be like, so everything I know, and I've thought about this. Like, I mean, for those who don't know, like I'm in like the medical field, but like I don't have experience with like field medicine. So if you take me out of like a modern healthcare environment, I'd be like, I don't really know what to do other than don't drink the dirty water, maybe like cook your food.
Yeah, no kidding. Like,
It's not like I'm just gonna look at some herbs and be like, ah, yes, I know what this does. Like, no, I don't. I
I,
barely know what color pills do. I need the labels.
no, they changed the fucking color of my progesterone. I'm like, what the fuck did they send me? I'm like, oh right, there's a label here. I'm good. Like this is
No, but
this.
see, that's like a thing because they do that because that's pharmaceuticals is a whole thing.
Yeah,
But like,
I
that's why you can't like when patients will tell me it's like, okay, so I take this white pill. It's like that doesn't help me.
it
It's like, is
isn't
the
like
circle
for.
still doesn't help?
It's a bar. It says Xanax on it. Okay, can I have one of those?
I mean, Like the better, it's even better when I ask them, like, just tell me what you take it for. I can probably by process of elimination figure this out. And then they'll be like, I don't know what I take it for. It's like, that's concerning.
Yeah, no, absolutely concerning, and I don't even work in the field.
Of course, by that point, you realize it's like, okay, this is to help. Yeah, whatever. That we're getting way off gaming at this point. Sorry, I just need to get
But
that out of my
like,
system. Yes.
but like, no, you're right. Like, how is like what happened in Jonestown going to help me survive this mass killer out in the middle of Grand Rapids?
Yeah, exactly. But okay, God damn, we got so off track. What were we talking about?
Like lost media and somehow talked about
Oh
ads.
yeah, that was it. Okay, yeah. So basically, short point is like as much as I like Apple Arcade, we should still fight for like game preservation. But the truth is, there's very little that, and this is kind of sad to say because it sounds defeatist, but there's very little from a consumer perspective of what we can really do other than demand that the people who produce like do better and make it easier for things to be preserved. But they have no incentive for that. I mean, we're seeing more and more like stores like just going full digital.
Yep.
Like I went shopping and I thought I would just take a look to see what games are around, even if wasn't going to buy anything at this particular point. And yeah, there's selection of physical games are just way lower than they used to be where I was shopping.
You bet your sweet ass there's 97 copies of Madden there though.
Oh yeah, it's just like the most random stuff. But there's like no benefit. I mean, eventually we're gonna get cloud streaming and all kinds of stuff, and it'll be convenient for sure. But we're gonna lose a lot of games, though. Yeah, someone needs to figure it out, and by someone I mean the actual producers and developers of the game, because it's not my job to figure it out.
No, like I look back to like Brian Lee O'Malley, the creator of like Scott Pilgrim. He was just as frustrated when the Scott Pilgrim game got delisted as we were as fans, right?
Yeah, I remember that.
So like the reason it got delisted apparently was the rights to the Anamanaguchi soundtrack that was on there.
Yeah, I always love that. Like when one thing is just like not available because of copyright law, it's like take the whole thing down.
Yeah,
because that happened to like Quantum Break. Got off Game Pass just because it's like, yeah, we lost the license for like one song. Give us like 24 hours, and it's like, okay, cool, you got that fixed, but also that was scary.
Yeah,
you can just lose a whole title just because it's like of technicalities.
Yeah, and like,
but Disney can extend their copyright until
Mickey
infinity.
Goddamn Mouse, like,
yeah, that's why everyone's just having the time of their lives with Steamboat Willie right now.
We'll get to that in a minute, but like, so when they brought the remake out, he's like, we made sure to extend like the license to the music for a lot longer than the original, just so it doesn't get delisted again. But like you're right, like there was like even the Metal Gear trilogy, the original version of it, they can't reproduce that specific version of it anymore because the archive that they pulled a bunch of those war clips from no longer exists. Which is the most random fucking thing on the planet. Like, how did you lose the access to press coverage of World War II?
Yeah, actually, that is weird when you say it out loud.
Like, is that not preserved anywhere else? Like, the same clips? Go to NBC or CNN. No, we can't do that. Great.
Yeah, actually, that is a very weird circumstance. The example I was gonna use is, because again, as a Sonic fan, I gotta make everything about Sonic. Like Sonic 3 is like one of those titles that just doesn't get ported as much as one would think. Because like 1 and 2 got like whole remakes by like Christian Whitehead, which were like really great port. Some consider them the definitive one. I'm one of those people. But 3 never did, and people think part of the reason is just because of the music. Because even in Origins, which was like the re-release of a lot of classic titles, they had to replace a lot of songs, And people think the reason is just because Sega doesn't have the right to them, and possibly because Michael Jackson worked on some of those songs.
Yep. It was actually
I
confirmed that he worked on the soundtrack. There was news
Yeah,
about
I'm
that.
not sure if that's the reason though, because like yeah, you're right, that did get confirmed eventually. It was a weird secret for a while that everyone knew, but yeah, it did get confirmed.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure if that's like the reason the music because, but even if it is, it's like why can't Sega just I don't know pay the money?
I
It's
think
like
it's
Sonic.
because the estate and the controversy surrounding Michael Jackson, they don't want to, put that out there, I guess, would be the logic behind it, but it's still a very weird circumstance to be like, okay, we're just going to re-chip tune all the shit or whatever they do anymore.
Yeah, I don't
Um,
even know what they did. It
but
did
like,
not sound good, and people were very upset. And I get it because they it just wasn't as good. But at the same time, this is like another one of those issues where a single thing, a very small like copyright issue, is what like stops people from
yeah,
doing that. And it's all the more reason we need, at the very minimum, I guess, physical copies of stuff.
yep. And you
Because even if you lose the digital because of reasons, at least you have physical copies.
but like even physical copies aren't even, game on disc really anymore. It's just a license to download the product because you don't want to put 100 gigabyte file on a Blu-ray. Apparently, I don't even know the logic behind it. Because I bought, like one of the like 5 PS5 games I have is God of War Ragnarok, right? Um,
Yep.
and the funny thing with that is like it had like a 5 byte installer and then 115 gigabyte download. Basically, I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? This game isn't even on the disc. What the fuck?
Yeah.
And it took
I mean,
me.
at this point, they can just sell you a CD key, and it might as well do the same thing.
It's like 95% of Switch games. Honestly, is like a CD key in the fucking box. Don't even have the cartridge. I get it. I get it's easier to
You're
mass
basically
produce.
just paying for the box.
Mm-hmm.
Not even like the manual. Remember when
Yeah,
those were a thing?
yeah, no, right? Like I miss having the manual. Like that was such.
I would always read the manual first. Like in my family, like my cousins and we're always and brother were like ready to start playing, and I'm like, wait, we gotta read the manual. Could be important stuff in here. There was never important stuff. I just wanted to read the manual.
Like there were like story bits back in like the NES days and shit, but like as we got older, like the 360 era and shit, it was like here's the controls, right? Or a
Yeah,
synopsis of
and
like
now we
what
just
like
don't
to
even
do.
get anything.
We're
It's kind
lucky
of
if we
sad.
get a health and safeties warning that's not printed on the backside of a cover. Uh,
Yeah, it's true.
like
So, so basically, this is just them slowly taking away like reasons to buy physical. And I get it; it's more profitable for them, and eventually, when they don't need to worry about the retailers, they'll be able to charge whatever they want.
you want GTA
So
5 or GTA 6? Pay us $50 an hour. Uh,
it's like when all the Switch 2 discussions I've been seeing were talking about like Nintendo games being like $70, and I'm like, yeah, I can't think of any Nintendo game I would actually pay like $70 for. Not to say Nintendo games are like not good, but $70,
I'd I'd
that's a
pay
lot of money.
I'd pay $70 for my pink murder ball. That's about it. Like
I'm
I want.
not. I mean, again, Kirby's great, but I don't even know about that. Like, the best I could think is like maybe like of course like Xenoblade and like Fire Emblem maybe because like RPGs I can get a good amount of value out of.
Right, but
But
like
like most Nintendo games are just like very small, like just compact, fun experiences. That's why like I really enjoyed like their handheld titles. They were great for that.
yeah,
But $70, wow, I
like
don't know.
it's
That's
insane to think that a Mario game will cost $70. And I get that the cost of development has gone up, but at the end of the day, a Mario game is a 5-hour experience. Regardless of like how much it costs you to make, it is a 5-hour experience, right? And I'm not saying that your work is or isn't valuable. I'm saying I don't get the amount of value out of that as say a giant like 100-hour JRPG, right? and the fact that Nintendo games rarely go on sale would just see me buying Nintendo products less and less. Um,
I mean, yeah, that's the other problem, really, because like most other IPs, they can charge whatever they want. I'll just wait for the Steam sale.
right, and it sucks because like I want to support Fire Emblem or Xenoblade or something like that, and that would be like the titles I would buy at that point, and then down the road when something hits a GameStop or a Disc Traders or Disc Replay, if those still exist in this time, you know, and we still have a physical cartridge or something, I would buy them on deep discount there. The fucking the 5 hour experiences, your
Yeah,
Mario's,
holiday
your Kirby.
sales, things like that.
Yeah.
Those are always nice for that too.
But
Used games.
like if we go all digital, we're not going to have that, and you would just sit there seeing Pokemon Red being sold for $90 probably by the end of it all, because you got the Switch tax on top of, well, first party titles don't really have the Switch tax, but you get what I mean. Like, they would be able to charge whatever the fuck they want, and that's, as much as those games are fun, they're not worth that price. I say, having spent like $100+ on Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door during like pandemic.
Oh man, Thousand Year Door. Getting a whole remake. That's pretty
I'm
exciting.
so happy about that though. But speaking of,
Because like the way I played a Thousand Year Door was like, I feel like I shared this story before. Like I got like a disc from GameStop. It was like a used disc, but of course, because it's a used like GameCube disc, they barely work.
oh god,
So I had to like get another copy like one time. And I think it still stopped working eventually. So then I'm just like, you know what? I have other means to do this. I didn't want to do, but it's like it's a Thousand Year Door. It's worth.
Yep.
But
I
it,
bought mine on eBay because I didn't trust GameStop to even send me a box.
yeah, no, that's fair. I mean, I went into the store itself. That's how I used to do these. I just don't trust online vendors as much, to be honest, both then especially, and even now to some extent, even though I've done more online shopping as an adult, just because, like, it's hard for me to, like, buy something that's non-tangential and then be like, okay, well, hopefully it appears in the condition I want.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, especially now, like, postal, workers being, like, screwed over by, political means, it's a lot harder to even guarantee your package arrives in one piece. But, like, during COVID, like, there was no real way to go into, like, the store, and I'm like, well, I'm home for a bit. I'm still working because I was essential, but, like, I at least have the ability to take unlimited PTO, so if I want to take a week off and play a video game, I will, and I did, and I sat and played fucking Thousand Year Door that I bought on eBay. Like, it was fun, I'm definitely, like, when I use eBay and stuff like that, I vet the seller to some extent, and I pay with PayPal when they allowed that, just to make sure it's, if it doesn't arrive in the condition that they say it's in, I can always file a chargeback, because I'm not going to be out $100 or more, depending on what it was, for that. I got back into collecting retro shit during the pandemic. I was one of those people.
Yeah, I mean, we all found hobbies, except for those who didn't, like myself. I was just like, okay, was just dealing with the front lines of all this. That's basically, it was my life.
Like, oh, I'm fucked.
You know what? I learned a lot very quickly, and I guess you could say that was a benefit, but I also don't want to say it like that because very bad things were happening during that time too.
Oh, yeah.
But it's just another part of life now.
You learned very quickly how shitty humanity was during that time. That's for sure.
Yeah. I learned that when it comes to healthcare workers, like, people will really care about you for like the shortest period of time before not trusting all the years and work you put in after that.
See, I have
that's a great feeling.
yeah, I have dozens of friends that just left healthcare during that period.
Yeah, I don't blame them. Like I knew people who like just like older folk who were just like, you know what, it's time to retire. And I'm like, yeah, it is.
Yeah, you're like,
Life, like this is when you learn life is too short and retirement sounds nice.
even as a millennial, you're like, I'm burnout. Fuck it. Hey, I have one friend that during that period of time that just quit and went back to a factory because they're just like, I don't want to deal with humans anymore. Just put me back in a warehouse or a factory. I'm like, great. Um, I don't think you're going to get like the hours that you were getting, but you'll probably get better pay because they at least gave money. And you know, it's criminal how underpaid like healthcare is compared to what they're actually valued in as society. Um, but getting back on some sort of topic, did you
Yeah, yeah, we went on a lot of tangents today. We didn't even get to the big one yet, and that are like the leaks we had from Insomniac. Which, yeah, let's get into that because that was like a big thing I wanted to talk about for our discussion for today.
um one moment, I have to go mute my other phone.
Okay. While Vex does that, I guess I'll start. So I don't know if you were living, anyone who's living under a rock. So there was like a whole hack done by a group who I don't know what exactly was their aim other than money, but they basically got their hands on some Insomniac data. And when that first came out, I was a little wondering about the legitimacy of them. But then, of course, once the leak happened, then we knew it was all legit. And I will say, I do feel bad for the employees who had their personal information thrown out there. Like, that is very unfortunate.
Uh-huh.
And I could understand like people being a little more reluctant to talk about it because of it involved like a hacked attack. But at the same time, when these leaks happen, like people will discuss it. It's still news and information. And I'd say the most interesting information was not people's personal information. It was a lot of the titles plans and the money spent in games, like,
Yeah.
because that's not something we really know. Because when it comes to movies, like when I started paying more attention to movies during the pandemic years, is that we kind of know right off the bat like what the budgets are like. Now granted, that's not including advertising budget and business expenses and some other stuff, but
Right, yeah.
mainly how much did you pay for this movie to be made? Like you have a general idea, but games we don't really know. People don't report that kind of stuff. And now we have like an idea, and it's a lot of money, too much money.
Yeah, no, like this was what kind of gave us the idea of like what the difference between a double A and a triple A title is. And it's in fucking insane how much money went into things like God of War Ragnarok and Spider-Man 2 and all of these games. Like I don't want to discuss
Including just like the port of Spider-Man on PC. Like that, I think would really surprise me because like was I think it was like 40 million or something, and it's not like it was like a full like new. It was just like Spider-Man on PS4 onto the PC with like some remastered elements, but
yeah, like they upscaled the
it
graphics.
shouldn't cost that much for what it was basically already a complete game.
Yeah, like
Put onto
it
a
was
new
it
platform.
was the same port that hit the PS5 as well, so they had to optimize it for both, which I get takes a little bit more working, but 40 million to get a game from one generation of a platform to the next generation, but also putting it on PC. Like that just sits unwell with me. Um and it goes to show like
And me too.
why companies like Square Enix say like this failed to meet our expectations, right? That famous phrase. I
Yeah, we
kind of
always
get
hear
it,
Square say that for like the most successful titles they have.
but I
And we're
kind of
like,
get it
Square,
now.
how much did you expect?
But I kind of get it now. Like depending on like how much went into some of their titles, like I can be a little bit more sympathetic with that. Seeing how much they put into something just like a port,
Yeah, that is true. But at the same time, we also need to remember that, they're the ones who decided to do that. It's not
right.
like like a lot of things with Square, and I've said this, I think in previous discussions. Like some of their best performing titles, both for them and us, are like more of their mid tier, like double A titles, and in many ways they could put more focus on that rather than trying to make more AAAs like they plan on doing. So it so yes, I do feel bad like when, the games I like don't succeed, quote unquote, because just financially it was a loss
Mhm.
to make that game. Especially because, again, going back to Insomniac, I always wondered like if we would ever see like another Sunset Overdrive, which is like one of my favorite titles by them. It was a great Xbox title, and I thought like it did pretty well. Like of course, it reviewed very well, but I figured the big reason that they didn't do it is because it's like, well, it's like it was a title on Xbox, and now Sony owns them, so it's like, does Sony really want to do that? And then what will they do about the first game? Blah blah blah.
It made
But
like
now
what
we
hundred
know
off.
it made like actually just a few $100s total, and I'm like,
I get it.
what?
I get it now.
Someone just was like, okay, guys, we made like a couple $100. Let's have a pizza party. Like that's the game. That was what
That
the
was our
game
profit.
was. One pizza party.
It's one slice per employee. And it's
Yep.
fucking Little Caesars. That's all we can swing. God damn.
Oh man.
I
Yeah, and that is so depressing
uh-huh.
because it's like, because obviously game publishers don't owe us this kind of information, but it would be nice to know, just because it's like, hey, how come we don't see this game? It's like, oh yeah, we just lost so much money. Like Ratchet and Clank apparently lost a lot of money, like way more than I would have expected for Ratchet and Clank, because like that's an IP you still hear good things about. Like I don't think I've heard like too many bad things about Ratchet and Clank.
I kind of understand that they'll make more of that regardless because it's an IP that they know they can invest in, right? But stuff like
Yeah,
Sunset
and
Overdrive,
according to the plans, they have stuff in the works for that. So
stuff like Sunset
definitely.
Overdrive, never going to see again probably, which is unfortunate because it did set up a potential sequel. Um,
Mm-hmm.
there's obviously in the works, so you got more Spider-Man stuff. We're not going to discuss like fully what was revealed. Like the leaks are out there if you want to source them. But
But basically, at this, there's been a lot of jokes about Insomniac being basically a Marvel studio. But when you look at like their other titles, it's like, well, I mean, that's what sells.
yeah,
That's what sells well enough to justify the cost of these titles,
yep.
which sucks because it's like when people ask for like brand new stuff, it's like, well, how much can you actually risk on that?
And then you look at titles like Ghost of Tsushima, which was also kind of thrown into the mix of that, like how little that cost to make versus how much it made. So like there are ways to make a new game look phenomenal, play phenomenal, and not cost a fucking Marvel, movie budget to develop, right? So that's what kind of
Yep.
weirded me out. Like, what is all of this extra money going to other than like foot animations, rat fur, like the amount of detail that you see in Spider-Man, like, yeah, it's insane. But look at Ghost of Tsushima, for example. That was one of my favorite games. I went back and finally finished it on PS5 because I never beat it on PS4 like fully, which was a lot more of a learning curve to relearn how to play that game than I thought it would be because it's pretty in depth, the combat in that. But like, that game looks fucking amazing, and it's like a quarter of the budget of a Spider-Man game. So I don't.
Yeah, and I really do think that's the best future like gaming has at this point, because it's not going to be these big do or die games, because eventually we're going to reach the point where none of them are making any money, because like only like either one or two will succeed, or all the live service games are just going to take the rest of the pie.
Hey guys, do you want to make Fortnite too? Why? When Fortnite 1 makes all this. But this time we'll add hoverboards. We can do that in Fortnite 1. And we'll add bigger booties on the characters. I'm sold! Like,
Yeah, I don't even know.
I'm making the joke because, like, the number one searched character on Pornhub was Chun-Li, but not from Street Fighter, but from Fortnite. And I felt...
That That's like an extra level of depressing because I feel like we always make the joke where it's like, oh, hey, it's Naruto from Fortnite. But I never actually thought anybody was doing stuff like that.
And I
Then
get
I
it.
remember it's just like, this is just what a whole generation has grown up with. So it's
Yeah,
like, it is what it is.
yeah. If you look at the Chun
It's like
Li,
how we were with Smash, right? Like, how many of
right?
us in our generation thought Roy was from Smash?
Yeah,
For Fire
no,
Emblem?
you're right. Like it's, and then we finally got stuff like Fire Emblem over here at some point, right? But like,
Yeah, eventually we did.
if you look at like the model for Chun Li in Fortnite versus the model in like a game of Street Fighter, just name any of the 9 billion Street Fighter games. I understand why people would search up the Chun Li from Fortnite because somebody was really down bad when they designed that version. It's insane the
I
amount of
mean, understandable is all I'll say.
like. I'm not trying to like sound porn brained on the podcast, but I get it. I get it. But like you're right. Like this is just this generation's Super Smash Brothers. Like you get fucking Ash Williams from Evil Dead. You get Chun Li from Street Fighter. You get Naruto from Naruto. Um, it's crazy.
Yeah, if anything, like this probably does more than Smash because Smash was always like
Nintendo IP.
pretty limited because we always thought it's like who could possibly work in Smash, but like in Fortnite, like they could just put anybody. They really could just put anybody they
Yeah,
want.
yeah. There's a snapshot of them wherever because of how the lore works. So every character in existence exists in that fucking universe because they wrote it, and I find that like the funniest lore ever, and also the laziest lore ever. But I kind of fuck with it. Speaking of lazy
I mean, when you
lore,
make that much money, nobody cares about the lore.
yeah. Speaking of lazy lore and lazy games, did you see the what we're doing with Steamboat Willie?
Yeah, Steamboat Willie. Let's talk about that because you know what? On one hand, like when I first learned about public domain and how Disney kind of screwed up public domain for all of us just by all the lobbying they did with Congress, it was just nice to be like, okay, now their stuff is finally starting to bleed over, so let's take full advantage of it. But at the same time, people are doing the most laziest things they could possibly do.
Yep.
Super
So
frustrating.
so like we have a Steamboat Willie horror game, two Steamboat Willie horror movies, and a bunch of 9/11 memes.
Yep. And like, I think Adult Swim put like a bumper and they were like, hey, this is cool. We can do this now. I'm like, all right, come on, guys.
It's just Mickey humping public domain, I think was what it said.
Yeah, it was. And again, that's very on brand for them. But I'm also like, this is the most creative thing I've seen for this. And that is not okay.
I tweeted out one thing that I found and I posted the actual TikTok I sourced it from in the server, but like it was like they just reworked the cartoon a little bit. And I'm like, that's great and all, but like, come on. Like we can do better with this. And then I'm like, you know what? Watching Mickey go around stabbing people, and being like the most anti-child friendly thing ever is pretty funny when you think about it. But I want more.
Yep.
I want something that's not lazy horror schlock. And I say that as somebody that loves lazy horror schlock. But making Mickey Blood and Honey basically is not it. Because the Pooh movie was dog shit. And I cannot believe that is getting a sequel. But I kind of respect it. And I'll go see the dog shit sequel. Because I love the fact that we're shitting on like the source material. But
Yeah.
fucking Christ. Like,
Because I mean, like when people make good stuff out of the IP, like that's how people like discover some of these characters and stories. Like Sherlock Holmes, I think is like the iconic example, at least for in my mind, because it's like I discovered Sherlock Holmes through like a lot of the more modern TV shows that came out when I was in like a teenager,
yep.
and there were like movies as well before then
Robert Downey
and whatnot,
Jr.
and that's because people actually try to do something with this like amazing character that was established and world and stuff. So if we're starting to get, more stuff in the public domain, let's actually try to do things that show people it's like, hey, this is worth getting more things into the public domain.
Right,
Because
like
otherwise, it's like, you know what? Maybe the lobbyists have a point. Please don't make me agree with lobbyists.
yeah,
Come on,
no,
guys.
like I grew up on British TV because my mom loves it. So like I had like the OG like black and white like Sherlock Holmes like PBS style shows. I think they were actually BBC, obviously, but like those, and then like Robert Downey Jr. had the two like
Yeah, two
Sherlock Holmes,
movies. Yeah.
yeah, and then Benedict Cumberbatch had the TV show as well. It was like more modern, hacking and shit like that. I'm like, this is cool. And then Enola Holmes came out during the pandemic, and they did like a movie, I believe. And then like
Yeah, I didn't see it myself, but yeah.
they were trying to do the sequel, but they were going to talk about a particular story that wasn't in the public domain yet. So they had to put it off until like this year, I believe, the sequel. So it would be public domain. And like that's the craziness of it. But like you're right. Like I kind of am agreeing with the lobbyists if this is what the best that we can come up with is like two horror movies and a shitty Unity asset flip game. Like there's so much more you can do with this, and it's unfortunate like this is the first we'll get out of it. But I'm hoping like as time goes on we'll see more creative stuff. Like obviously the Grinch is public domain. We had a slasher of that. I have more hopes for the Steamboat Willie that is made by the dude that is working on Terrifier franchise. Because that is a phenomenal franchise. But
Yeah, some of these that could actually be good as much as I'm like shitting on them. And, I'll be happy if that's the case. But yeah, like you said, like I I would hope that because a lot of these projects are almost definitely people who had this like ready to go like as soon as the public domain was like up.
yeah, like the fact that the
Um,
trailers went public the second the fucking, you know, copyright expired is just telling. They were like, yes, I'm going to do it. I'm going to finally make Mickey Mouse a killer. Shit. Other people thought of this too. Hey,
it's like I haven't had a single original thought in my head. Uh, but anyway, yeah. So hopefully, then now that other people have discovered this through all these like more memeing ideas, they're like, hey, maybe I could do something fun. Like, I mean, this isn't Steamboat Willie specifically, but Bendy and is coming out with some new stuff, and I'm a little surprised by that. But it's very much inspired by this era of animation. So I think we'll probably see more because I think this, like with popularity of things like Cuphead
oh yeah.
and like these style of cartoons, we'll probably see more people try to make things and use the original IP with that style. And I think that'll be cool once we get some more serious players in the works.
Oh yeah. And that's all it's going to take is more serious people. Because there's a lot of creative people out there. It's just like, why are we having like this be the first up? And it makes sense because like a lot of these are just asset flips and like meme movies, and they don't take a lot because like special effects for horror have never been like the primary um target. As long as you can tell story and kill people, like everybody loves a good slasher, right? But
Yep.
yeah, it'll either work, it'll be horrific. That's the two possibilities for it. And I know that's like the two possibilities for everything, but like it's more here because like if these don't work well, we won't see anybody really do anything with this property again, which is unfortunate. Because that will give more incentive to people like Disney to continue lobbying because we're like, see, once it went into the public domain, it doesn't work. And
Yeah, that'd be the worst case scenario. But again, so we really don't want to start proving lobbyists
exactly.
correct.
But speaking of correct. I was kind of right on one of these. Fallout's getting a big year. Uh,
Yeah.
I love Fallout. It's one of my favorite franchises. Seeing it have some success in the new year is, really cool. I'm not the biggest fan of stuff like Fallout 76 though. Obviously like it's getting a big expansion though. But I did you see the trailer for the Fallout show?
Yeah, a little bit. I'm looking forward to that. I mean, I'm not as big into Fallout as you are, but the show looks pretty interesting.
Yeah, like I was afraid it'd
What
be in
platform is it coming on?
Amazon.
Well, maybe I won't see it then, but all right,
I'm sure it'll be
we'll see.
somewhere. Um
Yeah.
that's how I feel about like Hell of or Has Been Hotel, right? Because I'm like, God damn it, that's the platform it's
I mean,
coming on.
yeah, I basically just gave up hope on that, but it's fine.
I'm like, I have Prime because I order a lot of shit from Amazon, so like it makes sense to have Prime, and it's like the easiest interface for like my family to use, and they use a lot of streaming services as well. So I'm like, here, just fucking put them on this. But it's still unfortunate that's the platform it's on. I was afraid it would be in the veins of the Halo TV show though, because as much as I loved memeing the Halo TV show when it was coming out, I know there's a season 2 coming out, and that season 2 looks more like Halo than season 1, which makes me think like, why didn't you fucking lead with this, you idiots? I I'm hopeful seeing the trailer, and I I really really like the idea of having a full on like Fallout universe on TV because it works. It for what it's trying to do, right? It's telling this expansive story, trying to like dive into the lore based on what's going on in the trailer. Like we have like the Brotherhood of Steel showing up. We have a lot of like what look like Enclave soldiers as well. So like we could dive into the lore of those characters that were explored early on in like the games that nobody wants to go back and play Fallout 1 and 2 because like they have aged like molasses. It's
Yeah,
horrible trying to
I've
play.
tried.
I have
That
to.
was not a good experience.
Like I don't mind CRPGs when they look halfway like they came from the century. Uh but those like even now look rough. Even back then they were kind of rough, but like now going back to play them, I would have more of a chance of going back and playing Elder Scrolls Arena than those, and that's saying a lot. Cuz it
Hmm.
also looks like absolute dog shit now, but it's still at least playable. Um so I'm hoping they can introduce some of those aspects into it for newer players and newer fans cuz like the goal of a TV show adaptation is to introduce new people into the franchise. And what better way to do that with one of the most popular games, which is having an anniversary this year with Fallout 3. Because like trying to get it to play natively on a modern PC is a challenge. The only way I was able to stream it was with a Tale of Two Wastelands mod. So and even then it doesn't work 100% of the time because like some areas like overwrite code wise apparently because like certain enemies were just like invalid objects while I was streaming it, which was really fun. uh so like if you've ever played like Gmod, if a player doesn't have the skin that you're using, it'll just show up as like a red bar. It kind of had like that effect.
Uh,
um
gotcha.
so it was really weird. Like bloat flies, like certain versions of bloat flies didn't load in, which was stupid. Um, so yeah, like that was cool, I guess. And then Fallout 4 is also having an anniversary this year, so it's just like a big year for Fallout. Um, and we hear like the rumors of a next gen port or like a confirmed next gen port, I believe actually now. Which I thought they already
Oh, it's been
got.
confirmed. Nice.
I thought I already got that. So like I was out of the loop on that one, and this is a franchise I follow like somewhat regularly. So that one shocked me. The other like interesting bit for this is we kind of know that they're going to be working on a new title. Um I don't figure it'll come out until after that mid-gen refresh though. If we get the mid-gen refresh, well, we know we're getting with Microsoft, so
Yeah, but I
we
mean, also if it's like it's Fallout, it's probably going to prioritize that, right?
yeah.
Microsoft.
So like, it'll be interesting to see like what the next game is, because we know we're getting a Fallout 4 mod the size of an expansion pack called Fallout London, which also stars one of the old Doctor Who doctors as a character in it. So they were able to get like
Oh,
actual voice talent in this mod, which is really cool. I've watched the trailer for that Fallout London, and it looks impressive. So I'll actually be streaming that when it comes out. I gotta actually have a completed Fallout 4 file on Steam though, which is something I gotta do because I haven't played through Fallout 4 on my PC, which is blasphemy. I know. I'm not the biggest Fallout 4 fan. I hate the base building, which was like a big reason I wasn't the biggest Starfield fan. There was so much focus on goddamn supplies in that game. It just drove me insane. But yeah, it's really cool. Like I'm happy that this franchise is getting like a lot of love right now. And if you want to support like fan projects, the dude who did Nuka Break is doing a whole new story in that universe, and he's doing a Kickstarter. So if you're interested in that, the links are out there on the internet. YouTube is flagging videos that you put too many links in the comments for, which is fucking stupid. Um,
yeah. Well, I guess I can't blame them too much on that. That's probably unfortunately due to bots,
yeah,
which this is how they decide to handle that.
like I tried to link a TikTok in the comments of one of the Chainsaw Man videos, and every time I would link it, it wouldn't even show up on Red's end on like YouTube Studio. It just automatically delete it. So I had to be like, here,
Yep.
put the fucking link up
Yeah,
yourself.
that's happened to my videos too. Like people have, asked for like sources of stuff I've done or shown, and I would try to link that because I think that's a fair question. But it's like, well, no, the comment will disappear, and I can't even undisappear it. I don't even understand how that works.
Like, I think you can do it through like the PC side of YouTube Studio now. But
Maybe I don't want to bother doing it though.
it's
So
not worth it.
it's fine.
It's really not. You just put it in the description of your video, and you should be good. Um,
Yeah, that'll probably be easier. But
but
yeah, the point is, we're probably still not going to do that though, for this video because we'll forget.
oh, absolutely, and I'm not going to put somebody else's stuff in there for the purpose of that in case the Kickstarter turns out to be a scam. Because there's so much.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I not that I'm saying this dude is going to scam because he's done this before. I just don't want to be liable if any of our viewers get scammed by this. Because there's been too much of that. Even to like, some would argue Mighty Number 9 is the greatest scam of all from Kickstarter.
That was just the biggest money laundering scheme ever.
So yeah, like I don't really want to do that. Even though I love Nuka Break, it was one of the first fan projects I ever watched. I don't want to be, deemed partially responsible for anybody losing their money. Um, so yeah, there's one more I put in the Discord server, and then we can cycle back to anything else you want to talk about. Have you ever ordered from limited run games?
I personally not, but yeah, I know of them, and I've heard they're getting more and more controversial. Because like when I first heard of limited run games, it's just like, oh, it's cool that there's this way to put like indie games and other titles in physical cartridges. But then I've heard that they're not so great at actually distributing them.
So my experience with them that caused me the most headache was the Scott Pilgrim game. So I bought the On Tour edition where you had like the suitcase that came with like the drumsticks and the guitar picks and all of that shit. And I understand manufacturing issues, especially during COVID when I ordered it. Totally acceptable. Right? Totally get that. It should not take 2.5 years to get me something I pre-ordered on any level whatsoever. It did. I ordered that right at the start of the pandemic when it first opened up the pre-orders. They took my $300 fucking dollars immediately, by the way. Uh So, like, I'm sitting there, I'm like, cool, I'll get this. At the time that they said, it was August of that year. It was supposed to come, right? I did not get that till I was moving out of my old apartment. And it came looking like somebody had drop-kicked it down a flight of stairs and off of a truck. So I'm looking at it, I'm like, fuck, this is going to be totally destroyed. I'm not going to get any of my money back. The way they packaged it, came in perfect condition other than the shipping container. That was a miracle in of itself. Today I got today I got the newsletter because I'm still subscribed to it, even though I haven't ordered anything. And I like this idea in theory. I don't trust it to be handled well, given my experience with them. I know a lot of people have had better experiences if they just order like the base version of a game. That's totally acceptable. But when you order a product, you expect to get that product on somewhat of a normal timeline. And maybe they've gotten better post-pandemic because manufacturing is like picked up and it's not as much of a like shortage of materials and shit. But today they announced a product service called Purple Dot where you can give you like the ability to order partial shipping. So like say the soundtrack for the game that you ordered can it's done before like the actual physical version of the product for whatever reason. They'll ship you under this program like the soundtrack when it's out, and then the other stuff like that. It's a cool idea. I don't know how well it'll happen or anything because that's, you know, I've had a shitty experience with them. I'm not trying to discredit them fully, but like it's a common occurrence. I've talked to multiple friends who had the same issue with like the Doom Collector's Edition. They're having like issues with the Persona Collector's Editions right now, having some manufacturing delays on some of the stuff, even though like they announced that and hyped it up for like 6 fucking months. But yeah, so that's the thing now. Is there anything else you want to talk about real quick?
Let's see. Well, I did see that Fallout TikTok you sent me, and that did get me thinking about we could talking about like things we're looking forward to for the year since this is our New Year gaming podcast, effectively.
Yeah, I'll let you
So,
start.
are there any titles like that you're really looking forward to playing 2024?
I've got a couple. Right now, I'm really looking forward to a DLC a lot, and that is the 2 DLCs. Everybody knows I fucking love Power Wash Simulator. It's like my cozy game.
You stream it a lot.
It's my cozy game. There's just something about that game that kind of takes your mind off of everything. I think it's the same way like a lot of people actually go into like actual power washing and think about stuff like that, where it just shuts their mind off. But they're having a Warhammer DLC, and I love Warhammer. So like, I love the world of Warhammer. I don't play the tabletop. Yeah, like I'm looking forward to that DLC and Cult of the Lamb, another one of my cozy games.
Oh yeah, I saw you posted that.
The Sins of the Flesh, which is their sex update, is coming out soon.
That was a great trailer.
I'm like, are you fucking... I thought it was a meme, you know? Like, the Amazon insurance, like, where you can order, like, health insurance from Amazon if you're a Prime member. I thought that was a joke. That's a real thing. I thought the Sins of the Flesh DLC was in the same vein. Like, are you fucking kidding me? They made a sex update because everybody was talking about... They were memeing on, like, well, if Baldur's Gate can have it, so can Cult of the Lamb. And they're like, you know what? Fuck it. Sex update. Here you go.
Yep. This is where everyth's headed now with gaming. Everything is a sex update.
If I can't have sex with my companion, I don't want it. Y'all okay? Are gamers okay? Do you need a hug? Yeah, I'll be right back while you talk about a couple of years. I gotta go figure out what the heck's going on in the other room.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so yeah, basically this part of the thing, I just kind of want to talk about like gaming stuff that we were looking forward to, and I think one thing I'm looking forward to, we talked about the Fallout show, but there are other gaming shows that are coming out that I'm interested in. One, of course, being like the Sonic 3 movie. I'm like probably most excited about that in terms of tangentially gaming related things. Because that's Shadow the Hedgehog, which was like one of my favorite gaming characters for like most of my life. And then Sonic Prime the last season, or I should say season 3, but it's like the last part of season 1. Technically, Netflix just chopped it up. That's coming in the next couple days. Episode 1 is already out, so looking forward to that. And let's see, there's might come out with that Knuckles TV show for like the movie spin-off. So yeah, a lot of the extra programs. I think, oh yeah, Arcane is getting something. Arcane's getting another season. So like a lot of things in gaming, it's more the outside gaming stuff that I'm like super excited for. Because like in terms of the actual games, the stuff that I'm interested in, some of it's still in like the rumor mill area where nothing's super confirmed. But if Nintendo is releasing like a new system this year, which we don't know for sure if they are, because
Right.
they could just keep making Switch money for like years.
Oh,
Because
absolutely.
Nintendo fans will just keep buying their stuff. But if Nintendo is releasing a new system, I would be interested to see what titles they have up for launch. Like, will we get like a new Smash Bros? Will we get like
Remember
a
when they
brand new
announced
IP?
Remember when they announced Metroid Prime 4 for the launch window
Oh
on
yeah, there's that too. That's a thing
maybe that'll
that
be a
might still
Nintendo
exist.
Switch 2 launch title. That's the only launch
Yeah, I
title we're
could see.
missing, by the way. I went back and watched that trailer. That is the only one we're missing now because Shin Megami Tensei 5 came out finally. That is the only launch title
Yeah.
missing. Which annoys me to no fucking end because Metroid Prime was one of my favorite GameCube franchises. And
Yeah, and the
I
remake was pretty good, so you know people are ready for Metroid Prime. But
exactly.
speaking of which, they might still release like I feel they're like Prime 2 and 3 maybe before we get 4. I can see them doing that.
Such a Nintendo move.
Yeah, yeah. But you know what I really think we'll see? I'll remember when the Mario movie like came out and like all the Mario titles sold, so they were like probably gonna capitalize on that with like a new Peach game and the Thousand Year Door port. So I think that with the Zelda movie in the works, they're probably gonna come out with some Zelda titles for their next console. Now I don't know
We'll
when the Zelda movie is actually coming out, but I have a feeling that those are gonna be in the works.
we'll probably get Zelda Collection. Remember like the All Stars one for Mario where it was
Oh
like
yeah, that was such a dumb idea.
I
Can't believe they
fucking
got away with it.
I bought it day one and it was on store shelves for like a year and a half. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? I could have waited. Um, but
I mean,
yeah,
but still, the idea of like a limited time collection of games I don't even understand any of that. It's not like you were. I don't know why they needed to do that.
I
Because if they do that with Zelda, it's like, okay, you can play all these cool Zelda games, but we won't sell it forever because it's like, come on. You'll just forget about Zelda eventually, I guess. I don't know.
I have bought
Uh,
I have bought Ocarina of Time so many times. I hate myself.
I mean,
I
yeah, but that's the other thing with Nintendo. They are very bad about legacy content. Like, somehow it's easier to transfer your Pokemon from older games than it is to transfer your actual games from older systems.
mm-hmm. Yeah. Until
Actually,
they
wait. I take that back. Pokemon Bank, that's still a thing, right?
for now you can still access it if you had a subscription,
Okay.
I guess. I don't know the logistics of it anymore because I panic bought
Because
like
I heard they're removing like one of the Pokemon TV apps. So I'm like, okay, wait, which apps are they just removing now?
um like they'll eventually shut down the servers for Pokemon Bank though because why keep the one thing active? Because that's the only thing that's active anymore on the 3DS, right? Um, because you can't access like
Might be.
the eShop,
Can't
and
access almost anything else.
I tried to open the
I should
YouTube
know.
app on my 3DS because I'm jailbreaking my 3DS now at this point because I don't fucking need it. Um,
Right.
well, I mean, like, there's no service anymore, so why keep it? I took all of my Pokemon out of it, so I don't care. Um, but like, I'm just like, does the YouTube app work anymore, right? Because I got curious. Because I saw somebody on like TikTok try to access it on their original Wii for whatever reason, I guess for the video. Um, and it doesn't work. It'll load to the like home page and it'll look like 2006 YouTube and it'll crash. So I'm like, you know what? Well, does the YouTube app work on the 3DS? Nope. It doesn't even open. It's like nothing that's internet connected on that system works anymore, other than Pokemon Bank, which is
Yeah.
insane.
So,
Like the amount, like the 360 stores shutting down this year too, which is crazy to think about. But when you look
mhm.
at how long that actually functioned, right? It had a hell of a life cycle. And
Yeah, I will give
most,
that to Xbox. They are very good at like backwards compatibility. Like Sony in comparison, and I did think about discussing this, but it wasn't like a big thing. But like the whole, okay, you can buy this game onto the newest platform, but you have to pay a $10 upgrade fee. Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that. That just feels stupid.
yeah, but
I
like,
kind of get it, but it all still feels stupid.
yeah, it does. And like the vast majority of the titles, you're able to like still get in some capacity. I have an article here of the 47 games I'll be totally lost when that's shut down. Um Delisted Games made this list, right? And it's not a lot, which is surprising. So you have things like Aegis Wing, Arcadian Warriors, Battlezone, Blazing Birds, Boogie Bunnies, Bubble Pop Neo, Crazy Mouse, Crimson Alliance, Defenders of Arandia, Diabolical Pitch, The Dishwasher, Dead Samurai, Double Dragon 2, Wanderer of Dragons, Fire Pro Wrestling, Free Fall Racers, Fruit Ninja Connect, Full House Poker, Fusions Genesis, Gel Set Match, Gotham City Imposters, which I wish would come back. That was a fun game. Happy Tree Friends, False Alarm, Haunt, Home Run Stars, Hybrid, Connect Fun Labs, and Sports Gyms. Lead Me's, Meteos Wars, Minesweeper Flags, Mini Ninjas Adventures, which Mini Ninjas was a fun little franchise. Panzer General Allied Assault. This was my like OG Power Wash simulator, the Path of Go. I love Go. I That was one of the first things I bought when I was like first working was a Go board. Um which is weird to think about when you think about like what my other games that I play are. Puzzle Arcade, Puzzle Bobble Live, Rainbow Islands, Towering Adventures, Recoil, Liberator, Schizoid, Spyglass board games, two South Park games, and South Park Let's Go Tower Defense Play, and South Park Scott Tinnerman's Revenge, Things on Wheels, Totem Ball, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire Special Editions, Wings Commander Arena, Wits and Wagers, Racketeer, Yo Ho Kablamo, and Zombie Wranglers. Uh,
Okay, that's quite a list.
that's
But yeah, not
47
too much
titles.
though.
Yeah, 47 titles out of literally, I believe there is over a million Xbox Live arcade games alone. Somebody did a
It's
list
other.
years ago, before the Xbox One came out, and it was insane how many titles there were. Um, so the fact that like 47 out of all of those titles is all that we're losing is incredible, and the amount of preservation that Microsoft puts out, it's still sad that 47 titles are going to be like dead media, like lost media. So if you want to download those, I'll try to remember to put this Games Radar article that Delisted Games made the list of, or I'll link just the Delisted Games, which was the original thing, in the description. I'll probably forget. I'll tweet it from the Kontrolled Khaos account if nothing else. Um, um, so you can actually, find it. Because that is like our least active account out of all of our social medias. Is like I usually just tag stuff from my personal Twitter at this point because I'm not logged in on my personal phone to the Control Chaos account by design, but I'll make sure to tweet this out anyway. But like that's how devoted Microsoft is to like media preservation, which is pretty cool. And you don't see that from like a Nintendo perspective or a Sony perspective. Realistically, the most we got for like game preservation from Sony was like, we'll keep the PS3 store active for another couple of years, I guess, because you guys bitched enough.
I mean, it's something. We'll take it.
Yeah. The fact that there's still 1.5 million users on the PS3 blew my mind though. Like
Oh yeah, I
that
remember
was
hearing that.
that was something that
I
shocked
mean,
me.
it's weirdly nice though, I guess, to think that some people are just kind of being just enjoying their games and like not worried too much about like, you know, all the like new bullshit that people are dealing with.
Oh
Because I
yeah.
feel like sometimes it is just nice to like boot up like an old console, well, provided it still works, and just play some of those old games. Because you don't have to worry about it's like, okay, I need to connect this to the internet, and then make sure the multiplayer is working. It's like, oh, no one's playing on the servers. You know, it's just like boot up an old system, play some old games. It's
Yeah.
really was more straightforward than anything.
Oh, for sure. I'm going to put this article in the general gaming chat so I remember to tweet it out.
Nice.
But
But
there's
yeah, in terms of actual games, I think like the one I was really looking forward to was like the Nikkei developers are like working on something that's apparently coming out. It's on PlayStation in 2024, and
that's
that could be
pretty
fun. There's a
cool.
couple of Game Pass games coming out soon that I'm interested in. But yeah,
Oh
I
yeah.
think like some of the there are like a bunch of titles. Like the big thing that I'm hoping for is that we finally hear about that Dragon Quest 3 remake that Team Asano has supposedly been working on, and it's been coming along because like we haven't heard anything, but they don't have any titles right now like announced other than that. So I'm hoping that just comes out because I'm ready to play that one.
Oh my god, yeah. Like I there's one other like really random title that I want to play and I don't know if it's coming out this year. But I am aside from like the Final Fantasy VII remake part that's coming out because that should be obvious that I want to play that because I'm a Final Fantasy
Yep.
simp. Um I want so desperately for it to come out this year and that's Warhammer Space Marine 2. I believe it's coming out this year because they have pre-orders for like
Yeah,
this
I
collector's
think that
edition.
was coming out. I want to say
Uh,
September, but don't quote me on that. But I could have sworn I was watching like a video about people talking about like titles yeah, they're looking forward to, and I saw that on the list. I think they said September, but I'm not 100% on that.
I'm not as hyped as Luke is for the South Park Snow Day. But I know he's been talking
Yeah,
about
I
that.
mean it might be fine, but it's just like the last South Park games were like really cool because it felt like playing the show and through genres like RPGs and tactical RPGs, which are like two of my like some of my favorite genres of games, and it's South Park. But this feels more like okay, guys, what everyone's playing nowadays are like these multiplayer, arena games. So let's just do that.
Yeah, and like I'm not the biggest multiplayer person anymore. Like I play a fuck ton of Fortnite. Like that's my multiplayer game. So like I get like the want to get into the multiplayer genre, but like it's still I'm sure we'll stream it too because we're all South Park fans to some extent. But
Yep.
like and I'll buy it just to make content out of it with you guys. But like it's not my go-to genre multiplayer games. So like I probably won't get as much enjoyment out of it as I did like Fractured Butthole and Stick of Truth. But I get South Park's logic behind it, you know.
Yeah,
I
I guess
think
it's just that I would hope that maybe they would still consider going back and doing like a traditional RPG or even just
oh
an
yeah,
action RPG.
for sure.
Just because like this could be fun and probably do well. Because South Park, I feel like is like somehow still like super big in the current years. It's still like doing very well for itself.
Oh
So I think
yeah.
the game will sell well. But I think that, and again, I'm just judging based on the trailers, of course, but based on just that, it just feels less inspired. And maybe I also think it's the environment, because something I've learned, I think, about myself more recently is that snowy environments are kind of boring in games and fictional settings, because they
Hmm.
can be cool if you like really get creative with it. But when it's just mostly snow and some ice, it's like it's just a lot of white everywhere,
Well, I mean, it is
and
also
that just feels boring.
Colorado, so
Yeah, and it is snow day, so it fits, but it just does. The last ones are like a giant fantasy setting and like superheroes, so it's way flashier than
oh,
just a snowball
absolutely.
fight.
There's also like a couple others that I'm looking forward to. I don't know, like your thoughts on them. Um, there's Alone in the Dark is like one of my favorite franchises from back in the day. Like it's been done dirty the last couple releases. I played the like 10-minute demo during one of the streams we did, and it was really fun. I liked the direction of it. It looks like it'll be done a lot better. So I'm looking forward to that one. Stalker 2, which kind of got fucked up by the Ukraine Russia conflict. Uh, because like the developer is a like Ukraine based developer, so like it got pushed back and pushed back and pushed back. I believe it's coming out this
Yeah,
year.
which is understandable. Like, yeah,
It's saying Q1 on Steam's front page because I went to there. It's like there's a $109 version of it, which is what the fuck is that? Because there's like nothing listed. Like usually like when there's a collector's edition or like a deluxe edition, they say what's coming in it. Oh, here we go. It's like 6 pages down. Ultimate edition. Uh, Story-based side quests. Season pass with all future DLCs, including 2 story expansions. Uh, 3 multiplayer skins, 7 weapon skins. 1 single player skin, 3 weapon skins. Jesus Christ. Early bird stuff. So that's cool, I guess. I don't think I'll buy that. Um, and the funny thing is like it's not really graphically intensive at all. But I've always loved the Stalker franchise. It was a unique shooter. Also like you have the Suicide Squad game, which
yeah,
I have so many mixed feelings about that. But
yeah.
I'm
It
going
looked really cool when it started, and I'm a Suicide Squad fan. But if it is like just a live service game, it's not really what I want to play.
exactly. That's my feelings exactly. September 9th for Space Marine 2, by the way. Correct on that.
Yeah, I knew it was September. Yeah.
Dragon's Dogma 2 looks incredible. I was a big fan of the original
Oh
Dragon's
yeah,
Dogma.
yeah, that's coming out. Yeah, I
Uh
played a little bit of the first one, but I didn't like finish it. So it's a kind for me. It's more like, do I want to like, complete that game first before I get
yeah,
into
I
two?
got to
But
go back and beat it on Steam cuz I'll be playing it on PC. Um
yeah,
I love
so,
that there is a full page for Raid Shadow Legends on Steam because apparently it's getting added to Steam. Ah,
and I've heard Summoners Wars got recently added to Steam, and I'm like, why? That thing's like ancient.
I played that in college. So yeah, it's pretty fucking old.
Hmm.
Like it's insane like the amount of stuff that's getting like Steam ports just because it's convenient at this point. Um
I guess, and it's nice, but it feels way too late.
it really does. Um but
'Cause,
yeah,
like,
like
I think
there's
having gotcha games on PC is nice because it's like, while it's convenient to play on your phone, like some of these games have enough budget in them that they would look just graphically better on a computer.
oh for sure. It's funny though. Like I like the meme for being content creators is like why not do a Raid Shadow Legend ad? And I'll tell you why. They don't offer a lot of money for what they want you to do. That being said, I like peeling the curtain back. Stream Elements does these like you can do like ads through them. Like they offer you like campaigns, and there's other sites that do it too, because I know Stream Elements bad currently based on the internet's reception of them for reasons I don't fully understand. Somebody might be able to like clarify that, but I saw a lot of TikTokers saying like, "Hey, don't support them because of blah 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 blah," and there's no like concrete answer for that. So if somebody wants to clarify like a concrete answer in the comments, that'd be great. But they offer these like campaigns to where you can like stream a like mobile-ish game, and then get like paid through them. And a lot of creators do that because they offer more financial compensation through their platform than you would get from, say, doing an actual ad read in a video. For a lot of these, so I've gotten like Raid Shadow Legends ones that they've offered. Star Trek Fleet Command, Ant Kingdom, like a lot of these, like, and it's based on like clicks to your stream and what have you. I've like honestly thought about doing a couple of those in the past, but I've never really committed to them because I don't really like playing mobile games other than like Honkai Star Rail, obviously, on stream.
Yeah.
And
So many stream plugs.
it's funny. It's funny though to do those things. Like I got finally got ready to read like Mission Yozakura Family on stream. It was
Yeah,
fun.
we did. It was mostly just the mods and YouTube, but it's
Like
something.
it's something like because I've been begging him to read it. I've been begging to like actually cover something other than Chainsaw Man and like on that channel.
Yeah, and it also didn't help that we really couldn't remember where we left off with Fire Punch because it was like a really long time ago by now.
I think I have the last stream archive on my like 8 terabyte external, so I just gotta dig that up because I used to record like the like the actual archive or download them for clipping purposes, but I never really decided until like somewhat recently to archive all of those old streams on like another channel. I have like one of the first streams I did ever of fucking Batman Arkham Asylum. Because I was using it to like those, and it's still kind of like the goal behind like a lot of those streams is like beat my backlog. So if I decide to dig back through that thing, I could get up. Is here somewhere in the studio. I could probably figure out exactly where we left off on those by just context clues. If like you couldn't read the like chapter number, you could probably just pick up like what chapter it was we left off on that. But I think like we did it in old like fucking 6 hour stream or 7 hour stream because we used to do those. So I'd have to scroll through a lot of footage to figure that out too. But yeah, like that was fun to do. Maybe I can get him to review that. I know he was going to do something like 100 Girlfriends as well. I want to get his ass to play through Kingdom Hearts more though. That's my fucking goal. But that'll be when I move.
Yeah, I would play more Kingdom Hearts if they just got it off the Epic Store.
I don't think that's going to happen, unfortunately. Like, because it is Kingdom Hearts.
I don't know what deal Disney possibly got in.
Wasn't
for that,
Disney. It was
it was Square.
because they use the Unreal Engine now for those games, so I think they had to give exclusivity to Epic, which is unfortunate.
Okay.
It's unfortunate. It's the same reason like Alan Wake will probably never get off of the Epic Game Store as well.
God damn it.
I mean, you could always get it for like the PS5 or the Series X if you want to do a console, but I know you don't want to have like a billion.
I mean, yeah, but it's like at the same time, it's nice to not, like I said earlier, get another device to play games.
Exactly.
And I mean, it's fine. Eventually, like I'm sure there'll be a port of it. I'll play one way or another.
Or yeah, through other means, but like there's, I know for a fact because I booted up a certain website. There are versions of those games out there. If you really want to play them. Um, and
But yeah, I'm sure.
I'm not condoning those actions, but I also did not want to pay for another streaming service, so that's how I got a certain show I was watching. Um,
Yeah, no,
I
there's like too many streaming services and stuff locked behind them, so it is what it is.
I'm like, I'm not paying for you.
Especially as those streaming services enforce their stupid policies.
Mm, exactly. I'm not going to say what show it was, for reasons, but
Yeah, so
I've watched the newest episode of something that's just come out. Because fuck paying for 900 streaming services at this point.
yep.
Um, but like to wrap this up, like I think this is going to be a great year for gaming. I do think we are going to have to reflect on everything we learned over the last couple months a lot, because this, like, 2023 was a phenomenal year for gaming, but it was also like the worst year for the industry, right? And
Yep.
I think in the year of our Lord 2024, we might have like another banger year, but I also think it's going to be a reset for the industry, and what happens this year is going to set precedent for the industry moving forward. Because if we focus doubly down on digital only, and we focus doubly down on that word that we both hate, AI, it's
Mm.
going to be interesting, right? Because I feel like we're seeing, I don't know if you saw it, but I did. Wizards of the Coast got called the fuck out. After they put out
They
like
got
a
called out for so much stuff. Their last year was just like the biggest trash fire.
uh-huh. So
I mean, renewing policies, calling the Pinkertons on people. Like,
so
what were you doing with it?
so this recent one I saw because of TikTok. They posted after they put a like, we do not use AI in our art. They put up very obvious AI mana for their new set.
Oh, okay. I did
Uh,
not see that, but that is just hilariously stupid. Because, weirdly enough, and I don't know what it says that I'm praising this, but like with Square Enix, like when they say it's like, hey guys, we're going to do NFTs, like that's a bad idea, Square Enix. We're still doing it anyway. At least they're honest.
right. Like,
Like it's bad, but also it's like, and stupid because it's like somebody up there is still thinks this is just a good idea despite everyone else saying it's not a good idea.
I'm like, at least they're honest about what they're doing is stupid, right? And I kind of respect the honesty, because I can put my money where my mouth is. I'm still going to be a Square simp, you know. It's
Yeah. I
unfortunate.
mean, basically we're going to do our best to not buy things that involve like their bullshit, but at the same time, if their bullshit gets into the IPs we love, then it's like, well, I got to start making decisions.
Do I sail the high seas? Do I buy the game? I'm going to buy the game because I have the money to buy the game and I want to support the developer, but I also don't want to support the practice. Fuck. Where do my
Yeah.
morals lie? Like, I've admitted I
It's like
use.
this, like if Dragon Quest gets corrupted, it's like on one hand that's gonna suck, and I don't want to support it. But also, Dragon Quest already has a hard time coming out in the West, so any sales that aren't going towards like Square, like Square is like, because we talked about this earlier, Square has no struggle saying like, hey, this game everybody likes, it did not beat our expectations, so therefore we are gonna scrap it.
Yep. I feel like that's what happened to
Zero
Midnight.
hesitancy.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like that's what happened to Midnight Suns as well, which is unfortunate because that was a fun game. I don't think Square made that. I think it was 2K, but I think that's what happened to that IP. Um,
Yeah. Yeah,
but
I mean, man, Marvel games is like a whole other thing.
but like, you're right. Like, I respect it. Like, I'm going to buy Final Fantasy. I know that they did NFTs in Rebirth, or not Rebirth, but Crisis Core, right? They gave, for I think the collector's edition. It might have just been the figures, but I know they did
Yeah, I
NFTs
think it
for
was the
that.
figures.
for that. Um, just to put into the perspective like how much that is put out there. I had no idea when I bought tickets to a recent concert that I got a digital. They're calling them digital collectibles, right? So
Yep.
Live Nation did NFTs of like the tour that I went to a show of, right? So like I got a digital ticket collectible. I'm like, this is just an NFT with a different name. You're fucking
Hmm.
stupid. But also, that's pretty cool in case I lost my physical ticket, which I didn't have a physical ticket because I put my ticket on my goddamn phone like any other normal human being now.
Yep.
So like it's cool to have that, I guess, so I can show off like what tours I've been to. But it's also it feels dirty, right? Um, it's the same thing with like I bought the new Aqua figure for Kingdom Hearts. Here's a little picture of a JPEG Aqua. Cool. Where am I ever going to use this? You know, it's just
Yeah.
so backwards in that. But like, I feel like, and I'm honest, I use AI to balance audio occasionally if it's too egregious, you know. But
Yeah.
there's a
And I'll experiment with like the AI text writing just for fun.
yeah.
Uh, but it's like when it's used for like AI or NFTs and stuff are used like for business
To re-
purposes, and then it's just like it gets into like the really scummy territory.
are you replacing somebody's job with this, right? Are did you actively cut a role, right? Did look to like the day before, right? That dumpster fire of a game that I didn't really want to give any time to, but here I am talking about it. Like they fucking just straight up ripped off other trailers and worked their game into it. You knew it was a scam from the get go, but people still bought it because it was the new thing, right? Um, I'm glad that everybody got their money back. That is one thing I will say. Anybody that bought it from Steam got refunded, so that's a good. That's a good.
Yeah, I'm
That's like
glad Steam has like refunds now because it was not before that. It
that is the
sucked, but
first
Steam.
time they've ever retroactively refunded every customer. By the way, so
Yeah,
you
and
know
it's
it
good
was
they had the systems in place.
you know you dumb fucked up when Steam's like, you know what, we're going to like not even use our own policy. This was such a fucking shit show that we're giving you everybody their money back. So that was cool of them. But like, and there's more to that story than really needs to be discussed on this podcast as well. But like,
Yeah, there's more to that story that we just don't know. Like, who did any of this? Like,
right.
it's crazy that people can just do that to me.
Oh yeah. But like, you saw that they just like worked their way into other trailers like that. I think they used Black Ops 2's second trailer in its entirety, but with their assets in it. Um, Somebody can correct me on what trailer it was that they just straight up ripped off. But I remember it was like a Call of Duty or a Battlefield. Um, but yeah, like they did that. They fucking used like AI voices, I believe, in it. It was just like full on like trash from the get
It
go.
was extremely elaborate, and I'm like, people can just get away with stuff like that. It's crazy.
I kind of, in a weird way, have a disgusting respect for how much they got away with, right? Because
Yeah,
like it
because
takes
especially because it was a very obvious scam. I feel like that's why we can give it that,
right,
just because it's not like it's not like this was like if someone, for example, did something similar but with like people's like medication or something, then it's like, no, I don't respect this. You are just pure evil. Like
right.
people's lives were in the mix, but like this is more like this was an obvious scam, but you bought it anyway.
Yeah,
And
it's
also, I think because people got their money back, I think that's the other reason.
right, right.
So
Like I can't
now,
feel
so it feels like an elaborate, like practical joke.
right. It's like how much can we get away with before we fucking close our company to go under? Well, apparently a lot, but also now everybody at that studio is out of a job and will probably never be able to work in the industry again because they made one of the biggest scams ever.
Yeah, I
So
don't even know who was behind any of that. It was,
but like there's stuff like that, right? And then like the finals, like it's the top like game in the like shooter genre right now, other than Fortnite. and it basically is all AI backed, right? So like stuff like that is just like they're pushing the boundaries of what the gaming industry can get away with, and I think like if we don't put a lot of where our values lie into action now, we're going to see a major shift in this industry, and it'll also extend to like the other stuff we cover, like anime and manga. Like we're seeing big names use like AI typecasting and translation. Even one of my favorite series is doing it, and that pisses me off. Um, but I also understand like some of the logic behind like wanting to beat pirates, but you're just going to piss off the people that do the piracy side of things even more, and they're going to continue to put out their version that the fans like more because it's not backed by a fucking machine, right? It won't affect our release for like the physical volumes here in America, but it's still going to affect like the simul translation, which is unfortunate. Um, and like I think Viz did it too last year. For
Yeah, I think so.
for one of the newer series, they used yeah. But yeah, it's
It was
like
not pretty.
it was not. So if I haven't read the recent chapter of Magus Bride, so um if it's bad, then yeah, obviously I'm just going to go back to reading the fans
Fans
fan trip.
kids.
Yeah, but if it's like at least comprehend, I'm able to comprehend what's on the fucking page because I saw the original version of that other one. I'm like, the fuck am I looking at? It looks like a really rough JJK panel, but with like no logic behind it. And yeah, I'll
I
write.
will say one thing with Viz though is like I'm glad with their not properly translated chapters that they give like credit to like the translators and stuff because like as I read more manga outside of Jump, like officially translated stuff, I'm like, okay, but who actually translated this? Because like I'm not seeing a name here. And I
Right,
kind of feel like that's more needed now, not just for like
exactly.
the sake of credit, but because I need to know did a machine translate this or not.
Yeah,
Because like sometimes I just read like some of my monthly series that I really enjoy came out recently, and like most of it was fine, but a few things felt a little off, and I'm like, okay, I am like now super paranoid about
yeah.
these
It's
things.
the thing, right? Because like it it's scary what AI is capable of right now, and that's why like I have like this conflicted feeling. Like I understand there's a place for AI to make things easier for people, right? That's the whole purpose of having artificial intelligence is make life easier. Like,
Yeah, that's just technology in general.
but at the same time, like I want the human element still there. I don't want it to be like everything machine fed. I don't want it to have like this passionless bullshit feeling to it. And you can tell like if there's passion behind a project or there's emotion. But like I've seen so much fucking like to where like I can't tell if this is a machine or not anymore. Videos and like pictures and it's scary how good this program is getting. Um so like I know Mid Journey's in a bunch of shit and I hope that we see actual legislation put in place to make sure that this doesn't fully take away like jobs from artists and actors and stuff because it's crazy and the gaming industry is the biggest proponent of like I understand that there's already AI logic behind a lot of the things that we do like Radiant Quest we talked about but like how the finals just like doing full on AI voicing was like the first step of like a at least popular game getting like full support behind it with just absolute AI backing. And it's crazy because now companies will see like, well, they did it and they got popular. And if it stays more than the flavor of the week, that'll be another thing, right? But right now, like it being one of the more popular titles on like that genre, we might see like full on AI voice acting in the next Call of Duty if that continues. That would be a scary precedent because that is the biggest shooter title on the planet, regardless of like how it's doing behind its fan base. That is the most recognizable title in that genre. So
Yeah,
like,
and specifically like voice also like uses, in order to train the AI, they need to give it sample voices, which are a bunch of people who are not getting credited
mm-hmm.
effectively. So that's a whole other bag of worms by itself.
Yeah, but that's like where I feel like our line's going to be in the industry this year, and that's a big, giant, slippery slope. That is incredibly like the most dangerous line we've been on in this industry since like the crash, right? And where the industry goes from here is anybody's guess, and that's what, like, as somebody that has played video games since they were literally an infant, um, I am terrified for that side of the industry right now because I want to see voice actors continue to get work. I want to see actual artists continue to get work. I want to see like these people with actual love for this industry and passion for this industry continue to be able to flourish in it without the fear of, hey, you're are you feeding my voice or my art or my likeness into this program that is using things without my consent? Yes or no? Okay, then I'm retiring. And I feel like that's where a lot of people are going to be going this year, is just retiring from the industry. Um, I feel like people as popular as like Erica Lindbeck were very close to it at the start of the last year when this started happening as well. Um, and that's, a very popular voice actress in like Genshin and like Fire Emblem and a lot of these big games. And if we continue going down that crazy ass path, I feel like it's just going to be more and more popular to just say fuck it, going back to like regular work, because I have no say so over what I say, do, or feel anymore, and what made me what I am today. Um, so yeah, that's where I'm hearing this going. How about you?
So let's see. I think the big thing for this year in terms of like the gaming industry is, well, one, we've had, like I said, a lot of leaks that came out. I think we didn't even cover like most of it, but I think that's fine because some of it was just a little more uncomfortable to talk about.
Oh yeah.
But I think we'll have to like be worried more about that kind of stuff, like information coming out through incredulous means, because like consider apparently the way some of these leaks came out was just like some crazy amount of hacking and skill that people have. So that, and I'm also, we saw a lot of people, lose their jobs, despite a lot of games doing well. So then it's like, okay, will those people like be able to recuperate in new places, or are we going to start seeing a lot of downsizing because people are spending so much money on these games? But I think like the other big thing is, we talked about the budgets of like some of these big AAA games that are coming out, and then if a lot of those don't succeed, like we probably won't see a crash, but I think we will start seeing like a lot of more studios closures. And if studios close, then someone like, I don't know, say Tencent, can come up and buy up more studios. So I think like the big thing I'm worried about right now is some consolidation, the job market for developers, as well as like this console generation specifically. Well, I guess not counting Nintendo because I don't know what they're doing. I guess I'm just worried what Nintendo is going to do in general. But the other consoles, like, are they going to like do mid-gen refreshes, or will they just be like, you know what, we'll just stick with our hardware and just try to push it out? Because like I don't think this generation a lot of people have been really been asking for more power yet from the consoles. So I want to say that we might not, but if we do, then I guess I would wonder. It's like, okay, well, how does this affect pricing? Because everything's getting a lot more expensive too. So yeah, I guess affordability is like a huge thing for games going forward as everything starts getting pricier.
Oh God. I still can't. I understand like the logic behind it, but like I still can't get over the fact like a game is $70 now.
Yeah, which again, for like I said, most people I don't really care because I can buy it for sale because I only usually buy full price for games that like I really want to support and
Yeah,
stuff like that. But at the same time, it's gonna suck if I ever get back into Nintendo and have to start paying like $70 for like the new Mario game or
yeah.
something.
Like while you were talking, I just
But
pre-ordered the PS5 version of Final Fantasy Rebirth.
no, yeah, I mean there you go.
uh,
I mean, I'm probably not gonna get that until I at least play through some of the first part because I got gifted that and I still didn't play it yet.
it
I have too
just
much of a backlog.
I recommend because by the
I
time you
feel like this year, I think my goal for gaming is to clear up more backlog because during the
same.
Steam winter sale, I was like, okay, should I buy anything? And there were a few things on sale I was kind of interested in. But then, I also was just looking through my Steam library in general while I was doing this. And I'm like, hold on a second. I own some of these already? Oh, okay. Good to know.
Struggle of a PC gamer right there. Like
So it's like because like I'm also a huge Digimon fan, and I was hearing people talk about like what will we get a new Digimon game this year because they've been teasing one for like a while. But I also was looking through like my Digimon games that I own. I'm like, I haven't played some of these yet. I should do that.
oh
So,
yeah, absolutely.
I'm thinking that's going to be my main goal in terms of games. But being realistic, it's going to go mostly to gotchas. I'm playing a lot of gotchas.
Oh, like same. Like I see, like my goal. That's a good, ending bit. Like I want to clear more of my backlog, which means I'll probably be streaming a bit more because that's how I've been clearing my backlog. Is it gives me accountability to actually finish a fucking game. But
Yeah, it is smart.
like I recommend playing through the Final Fantasy VII remake just because it's going to deviate enough from the original source material, like it's its own story. I will say you should play through the original Final Fantasy VII. I did tell you Ever Crisis was like a decent-ish way to experience it, but like the grind in that is fucking absurd once you get to a certain point. So like I can't recommend wasting money in that if you get stuck, right? And it does have like a spike the further you get. So I would say like play through the remake and the Crisis Core bit of it, and then by the time you're done with those two, Rebirth will be ported to PC probably. And if it's not, then just go back and play like the Final Fantasy VII original, and then you'll have like enough of a knowledge of like what might come in the next two parts of the game, um, like Rebirth and then the finale bit of it, because like those like the remake's such a beautiful fucking game, and the Crisis Core bit of it just perfect. I love how like they had straight up Getty image like pictures. There's a certain scene in there where like you just look at a painting and it just still has a Getty image watermark on it. But like yeah, like clearing my backlog is going to be like a big portion of it. I was in the same boat as you. Like I bought a couple things during the Steam Winter Sale and the Epic Winter Sale, but like fuck, I didn't spend as much as I did in the summer sale, and like I wasted a lot of money during the summer sale, and I regret that. But I was also on the road, so I was just playing around my Steam Deck, so like it made sense to me to have something to do, But like there's like so much in that backlog. It's being a PC gamer in general is like the curse because you get everything so affordable versus like you're lucky if you get two good sales a year on console.
Hmm.
Like Nintendo, you don't get
Yeah, I think we
shit.
should.
Yeah,
Yeah, we should just wrap it up here. I think we've been
yeah,
talking for like a while.
yeah. I don't even know the timestamp at this point. 2:23. Yeah. So yeah, like that's the goal. Like clearing the backlog, the knowing where we're going to go in the industry right now is going to be the struggle. And if we do have the like dev conference. We can cover that in the next one of these. These are so much fun. Like, it's just a chance to nerd out. Next up, I think we have a podcast that Luke has planned, and then obviously like continuing the by the era stuff for the Disney era, which Jesus Christ save me. That's going to be a mess. I'm not looking forward to one step of that, and that is editing that goddamn thing, because I don't know if it'll go up at all on YouTube in the state it'll go in originally. So yeah, look forward to experimentation with content this year, everybody. Until then, peace.